Everybody read the packet?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Turn my volume off. More letters. Oh, okay. You got this ready? Okay. Who's going to... Hello. We're like slim pickings today. I talked to him. I talked to her.
I don't know.
She's not feeling well either.
Okay.
I haven't heard from him though. Oh, there he is.
He's right there.
Good. Because otherwise somebody else is going to have to do the attendance. They would probably cry. Welcome everyone to the Salem Township Planning Commission of May 19th, 2025. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:30. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and Okay. Roll call, please.
Khan?
Here.
Frost?
Here.
Huntsman here. Lewandowski?
Absent, approved.
McLaughlin?
Absent, approved.
Merlot?
Here.
And Rizzo?
Here.
Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for May 19th, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment? Okay, none. Chairperson comment? Just welcome. Thank you for coming.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Since there are a lot of folks here, I just want to clarify that there is no public hearing tonight. So if they want to speak, this would be the time.
Did everybody understand what public comment is? Public comment is you have 3 minutes to speak. So it's now, not during when the planning commission is discussing. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, we'll go back to that. Public comment? Raise your hand so I can. Okay, if you'll please stand and maybe stand under that microphone right there and state your name. Or are you? Do you have? You got a cane? You're okay. Just state. You can just state your name then. Okay.
I also have my husband, who was able to make it tonight. I'll tell you what he's on the set. Our full referee as well.
Okay. Well, just so everybody knows, you get 3 minutes.
I'll practice. I'm gonna.
Sure. Michelle, would you mind keeping time for me, please?
Sure.
Okay, Ms. Rogers, go ahead.
I first met Cindy and Rex when their chief of police are yard. They were just finished building and had a really event. The mother was insane that night, but she ate our bushes and tumbled to the houses and I on Facebook because I keep doing the tunes. My landscaper was also on that ride and he said, that's not covered. Our yard was trashed and I was surprised my yard reached up to see if there was any damage. I overlooked it because we just moved here and I didn't want to start out in ways Cindy and I began a friendship. I stopped by occasionally with some Bible study. We stopped by, let her know when family was to speak. I even volunteered once for the kids program and we also took me to the ER room where my bachelor's came up. And that once in all that time that Cindy or Rich mentioned to me the extent that we were planning on taking farm. I was very supportive of the small farm. Emphasis on small, only to find out, not from Cindy or Rich, that all the events stayed in planning. How many people would most likely be coming through, or the insane amount of parking space allotted. Cindy continuously says her door's been open and are happy to discuss with everyone, however, the caveat to that allegedly is they won't completely inform you of what exactly their plans are. I felt very defeated. They also had many opportunities and none of what's proposed was mentioned. Their plans seem to be to push forward and do what they want despite telling me what they disagree with. At the end of the day, my husband and I need to protect ourselves. I'll be setting up cameras to the far back of my yard. As someone who's been home during this home invasion, I'm very nervous about the amount of people that proposal advisors will be coming forward. As a form of protection and a way to comfort myself, there's no one on our property. I'll be live streaming 24/7 on multiple social media platforms. YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, Instagram, etc. cameras on my private property makes that the desk that was other neighbors have some interest in making passive income as well, since people capture this from multiple angles. It would be irresponsible to not let the community know that they may be on this. So we could risk that. As a mother, if I knew that my child was being filmed, so I want to make sure that people know they aren't, so they aren't uncomfortable. At the end of the day, we all have rights, privileges, and freedoms, just like Cardinal Farms back in my marriage, we have some neighbors who do the same, but I think we all can agree that just because you have freedoms doesn't always mean they are right. These are my personal opinions and those who make this not.
Okay.
And I have my opinion on
Oh, okay. Sure.
Up until the filing of the application for approval, the county state engineer withheld a lot of information regarding their plans for expansion. In hindsight, not disclosing the full extent of what they were envisioning in the conversations my wife had with them seems dishonest. The way the application was written needs to open to almost limitless applications with an ever-increasing scope, and this was done purposely. Frankly, it's a deceitful way to plan best operations within the surrounding neighborhood and community as a whole. Having said that, operating a farm with educational programs in a neighborhood setting introduces potentially safety and health reasons for both children and the community at large. While educational farms may provide different degrees of learning experiences, the combination of agricultural hazards and increased public access, especially by children and untrained visitors, creates a range of dangers that are difficult to fully control or mitigate. Farms are inherently dangerous environments. Risks include heavy machinery, unpredictable nature of animals, uneven etc. Make no mistake, these dangers are present on small community-focused farms and are not fully eliminated by educational programming or safety. Children and adolescents are particularly vulnerable as they account for about 20% of all farm fatalities and a disproportionately high number of non-fatal injuries. In a neighborhood setting, the proximity to homes and public spaces means that farm hazards are less contained. Children may wander, attacked by animals, playing with equipment without understanding the dangers, or following safety protocols. Neighboring homes may lack the physical barriers and security measures necessary to restrict access to hazardous areas, increasing the likelihood of accidental injuries or death. While farm safety education can improve knowledge and behavior, it does not eliminate risks and injuries, even if children are supervised or have received basic safety instruction. As our cognitive and physical abilities may not be sufficient to recognize or respond to sudden dangers. Parents and or organizers may overestimate children's ability to use common sense or may not fully appreciate the complexity and unpredictability of farm environments. Studies have shown that children often mimic unsafe behaviors modeled by adults, and that even with adult supervision, accidents still happen. Farms inherently produce a variety of noises, such as animal noises, machinery operation, and activities associated with educational programs, including group tours and outdoor classes. In a neighborhood context where residents expect a certain level of quiet, these zones can become intrusive, noise pollution has been linked to health issues as well as stress and when educational programs and additional groups and activities like cumulative noise can exceed what is typical for residential areas, leading to noise and with neighbors. I don't think we even begin to understand the potential noise implications. But I do have to take off. I'm sorry, I didn't think it came till to be here, so I'm a little shaky. But I did want to say too, I do think that we should consult with fair housing as well, just to ensure that everyone's rights are being addressed. Thank you.
Hope you feel better after.
Next.
Where's this microphone at?
It's hanging from the ceiling
Oh,
right
let
there.
me stand up.
It's up this way.
Do I stand over there?
Yes, please.
We don't have it, we're not being filmed this time, so we have to have a
Okay.
recording. So.
County Pet Food, 9702 South Hazel, roughly 190 feet of our side yard, attaching to Cardinal Farm. I'd like to review some facts. There is currently a police report of a patron of Cardinal Farm that trespassed and caused significant property damage. Apparently they got lost and they just kept driving around in the person's neighbor's yard. Garbage and alcohol containers were found just beyond Cardinal Farm. Farm animals have escaped their enclosures. The gun range is within close proximity. Neighboring areas have ponds, dead trees, obstruction, uneven surfaces, and other hazards. There have been sightings of coyotes, fox, and bobcats. For these reasons, and the protection of the public and potential liability to the neighbors, a 6-foot fencing around the entire compound is requested. A privacy fence where potential light pollution can occur. Other similar businesses have acreage and fences to buffer commercial uses. This is a for-profit venture that is causing detriment to immediate neighbors. It was heard that homeowner insurance was estimated to increase by 20% due to living next to a commercial entity. This entity is chose to move into a residential neighborhood and start a farm-based business. That business for profit kept growing in scope and in numbers of people to a point that us neighbors took notice. Now, this business for profit grew into a commercial entity and expands to include activities night and day with capacity to have over 400 people a day. I strongly disagree that approval for conditional use and left them to expand and impose on their neighbors. I also recommend that a traffic study be done when we know the entire scope of this business. The speed and curve of the exit does not seem safe. The time is now to review these concerns and safety issues before people are harmed.
Yes, my name is Randy Geiser, and I'm here to support the Cardinal Farm people of Cindy and Rich. I feel like the Cardinal Farm provides a wonderful resource to our community, and I believe that so much. I'm not sure of all their plans, but I know that their plans are pretty extensively laid out on their website. I feel like they've been really good for the community, and they will continue to be, and I'm here to support them.
And did you state your address? Are you in one of the neighborhoods?
We are in a neighborhood just over Dixboro Road, so we're actually in Northfield Township, but we're very, very close. We can easily walk to their farm. Yeah.
Yes, sir. In the back, put your hand up.
My name is John Allen, and I currently reside at 9855 Walton Road. When Cardinal Farms started their limited farming operation several years ago, I viewed their presence in the community positively. Unfortunately, the expansion of activities that include a broad range and scale of farm-based and other tourism entertainment activities, with more to come, is bad for the residents of the area. While I'm told there are a few residents who are supportive of some of Cardinal Farms' planned activities, I believe even they would ultimately conclude that allowing the broad scope of planned operations is problematic. While some of Cardinal Farms' proposed expanded activities appear to be in accordance with the township zoning, the scale and breadth of such activities is counter to the spirit and intent of the zoning. Section 63.06 of the zoning ordinance requires that the Planning Commission review the proposed conditional use and establish that such use and location satisfy 11 prescribed standards. The conditional use and site plan review prepared by Carlisle Wharton as revised May 14th includes their comments as to why they believe the 11 standards are satisfied. I respectfully submit that their comments relate to standards 1, that farm-based tourism activities are small in scale, 2, that the proposed uses are compatible with the surrounding area, 3, downplaying increased risk with vehicular traffic. 6, not qualifying in their statements that prior farming operations at the location were minimal. And 8, the potential impact of property values in the neighborhood are incomplete, inaccurate, or misleading. Carlisle Workman correctly notes in the recommendations on page 12 that before the Planning Commission takes action on the conditional use application, the applicant shall provide approval for a commercial driveway from the Washtenaw County Road Commission. We need to carefully assess the long-term effects of the proposed activities on the neighborhood so that we are not constantly back here debating zoning compliance as we are today. All of us have better things to do with our time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ann Cannell Advisor. I also don't live in that neighborhood, but I want to say that I was on a school board. I was on Southline School Board, and I know sometimes people who have very limited agendas come in and argue something because of their, and the last time I was here, I understood that they didn't want cars coming through their neighborhood. I thought it was quite amazing that however it was organized, that a home opened up adjacent to their property to allow them to come in off Pontiac Trail. To me, it seemed pretty much like a godsend, because what the people complained about was we're going to have these buses and these things coming to our neighborhood. I live in an area, so I don't live in their neighborhood, but I live in an area that was agricultural and became residential. But I knew what that meant. I knew that I have roosters. I knew that I have hound dogs. I know that I have horses. That manure smell sometimes blows over to my house. Okay, I have acreage. I like it. But I know there's some backsides to that. Now, talking about the safety issues, I guess we might as well close down Cedar Farm, because we got a lot of dangers over there. But you know what? That's life, right? I have a grandchild coming. I want him to come to this farm. I want him to see animals. I want him to, yeah, maybe he's going to get messy. Maybe he's going to fall down. Maybe he's going to get hurt. I don't think he's going to die there. I know these people. She ran Mayberry Farm, the education center at Mayberry Farm, which is just not two people that are coming without, they know how to do this safely. The other thing I want to say, they keep talking about entertainment. I was at every one of their farms, food to farm, whatever it was called. It was not loud. I wouldn't have been there if it was loud. There wasn't a lot of drinking. I wouldn't have been there if there was a lot of drinking. There was 2 solo men singing folk music. There was lines of us tables, and I think we were done by 9 or 9:30. It was not dark when we were leaving. These people are good people. We have the opportunity to keep a small, wonderful farm available to our community and our children. And it's agricultural. And I understand that there's people that moved onto agricultural properties and were given a zoning change, but that does not take away the right of these people to use their property in an agricultural way. And I think it's an amazing, and I'm also as a school teacher. I'm a teacher. I was on a school board. I believe that this is a really important thing to have in our community. Thank you.
My name is Paul Casale. I live at 9604 Waldine Road, directly adjacent to Cardinal Farms. Agritourism should be on a property conducive to such public activities and not in a primarily residential zone. In fact, the Michigan Right to Farm Act generally accepted agricultural management practices defines, and I quote, "A site is primarily residential if there are more than 13 non-farm residences, and in parentheses, a residence not affiliated with that specific farm within an 8-mile radius, or if there are any non-farm residents within 250 feet of a livestock facility. There are at least 23 non-farm residences within that radius of Cardinal Farms. Even though this property is in an AR district, GAMP and the Michigan Right to Farm Act consider it to be primarily residential, and so should the township. The screening proposed by Cardinal Farms is woefully inadequate. According to Salem Township zoning ordinance, section 60.09, screening and land use buffers, it states in part, protect property values, alleviate the impact of noise, traffic, and more intensive land uses, and minimize visual impacts. Under screening methods, it states, intended to create an effective obscuring screen, and the purpose is to create a dense obscuring screen, a year-round screening barrier between land uses of differing intensities to effectively block noise and light. Parking lots should be screened from all abutted road uses, residential uses, and more. All of the acceptable methods show requirements for a complete visual blockage, either by solid fence, staggered privacy fence, multiple rows of vegetation at maximum center lines based on plant variety, etc. The clear intention is to completely block visual lines of sight to create noise dampening. Cardinal Farms proposed maybe a total of 300 lineal feet of questionable screening. Their property abuts about 4,500 lineal feet of neighboring properties. 300 feet is less than 7% of that. We're not limited to staying in our houses and have freedom to go anywhere on our property. We should not have to witness the activities, the free roaming of guests at Cardinal Farms, or the invasion of privacy it creates when hundreds and thousands of guests can freely roam, view us, our activities, and our possessions. Cardinal Farms submitted charts of activities that's still vague and misleading. They were told to outline exactly what their activities, durations, times, number of guests, etc. were. An example, under farm camps, they state 3 sessions per year, 3 days a week. How many weeks of 3 days are included in a session? Under farm to table dinners, they state 2 per year, but then say Friday, Saturday, and or Sunday. Are they trying to consider an entire weekend one event? Winter educational programs are not defined. And then in their notes they state, quote, this chart is accurate but not meant to be exact. What does that mean? Are they purposely being vague and non-committal so that they can expand? Lastly, what's the purpose of these public hearings? The vast opposition from adjacent neighbors and others within an eighth of a mile do not appear to carry any weight. Since when do the wants of one resident outweigh the desires of 15 to 20 residents that will be affected by a payroll decision?
You could stay there if it's easier for you.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Roger Perry, 9545 Walgene Road. I live across the street. I bought a home in a residential subdivision, not on a commercial highway. When we purchased our home on Walgene Road in 1999, a major factor in our purchase decision was the peace, solitude, and tranquility provided by our home located at the end of a private drive on 11 acres of land. We felt removed from the hustle and bustle of the outside world, free of the conflicts with close neighbors, and an overall sense of freedom provided by the location. With the commercial activity now across the street, our illusion of privacy, peace, and tranquility is shattered. The increase in outside traffic is noticeable. We used to know most of the folks that visited our end of Walgene without fear of outside knowledge of our piece of heaven being exposed to the world of who knows who. The proposal to access Cardinal Farms off Pontiac Trail appears on the surface to solve some of this, but what about the exposure to more neighbors off Pontiac Trail, not to mention the increase in traffic off Pontiac Trail on a blind curve that has experienced serious accidents of late. In addition, Cardinal Farms patrons will soon discover they can access their destination from Walgene, and who is to stop them? Limited parking is available on the current property on Walgene, so they propose a parking lot off Pontiac Trail. I am certain the property owners of Pontiac Trail did not purchase their home to be adjacent to a parking lot. The contention of Cardinal Farms that a commercial business existed on their property is an error. The previous owners owned and boarded horses, as do other residents do today. The Groats gave riding lessons from time to time, but it was not their primary source of income. The Groats held one horse show a year. Aside from the loss of privacy and tranquility, there exists the issue of liability. Sub-residents report an increase in their property insurance being located next to a commercial business. Walgene is a private road maintained by the residents and so is subject to maintenance costs and liability for any injury that may occur. This is a direct burden on any property on Walgene or property off Pontiac Trail proposed entrance. In summary, the Right to Farm Act is touted as the Cardinal Forum's right to intrusion. I believe the Right to Farm Act was written to protect farms from subdivision, not to allow farms to intrude on subdivision. We are not in favor of granting this conditional use permit. Roger and Sue Perry.
My name is Stacy. I live at Stacy Crozier. I live at 9801 Pontiac Trail. Ever since it started about a year and a half ago, I come up and I talk about the safety and well-being of my property, which continues to be a concern and a concern moving forward. For as much as the Kerns speak of wanting to do what's right with what they want to do and be successful for the community of Salem Township, not of Lyons, they continue to fall short to communicate or address concerns that have been mentioned by many of the neighbors surrounding their property. The Kerns look at their business gains without taking into account concerns that they have been brought to their attention. I would also like to remind the committee of the damage that was done to my property due to events that they had during the month of March. The young woman who did drive on our property also drove in the direction of one of my two ponds that are located on my property. Luckily, she did not drive in one of them. Unfortunately, in the winter months of Michigan, we do get ice and snow, which could very easily allow anything to go into one of our ponds. I can't guarantee moving forward that people will wander or drive into my property yet again, which could cause them to land in one of my ponds of water. Right now, there is no current barriers or ways that Kerner Farms has addressed that they will prevent individuals from trespassing between properties and avoiding further situations. Again, I just do want to be mindful that my house is one of the few houses that share the whole length of property with Pontiac Trail House. So that's a substantial amount of land to where people can come into my land. Individuals who attend their events will not and are not welcome onto my property. With this, there is Michigan Law MCL 750.552, making an individual causing a misdemeanor act regarding of trespassing on another person's land without permission. I as well, as spoken before, do plan on putting up cameras to try and prevent and capture any activity that do plan on coming on my property for the lack of barriers that the Kerns are not willing to address. Concerns of numerous other homes in Missoula, Walgene, and Pontiac Trail that also have ponds in which individuals from events could explore at any given time. I've experienced numerous emails with the Kerns in which they have become accusatory. It has become inconsiderate, demeaning, and rightfully inappropriate with the way the Kerns want to avoid neighbors' concerns and continue to bulldoze through what their business is in order to accommodate themselves and not understanding of the damage that was already done with not wanting to address concerns with the events that they want to continue to have with no remorse of already the damage that was done. One of the things that they did submit to you guys is this diagram here with a bus with the circular drive, and as you notice there are 6 different ways that the bus can come out of that driveway. 5 of 6 of them come towards my property. It is not appropriate that they continue to, even in this diagram, show that these moving vehicles have the right to come onto my property.
Thank you. Any other, yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Davies. I live at 9696 Walgene. I told you guys last time that we were the last people to move in on this sub, and while we were planning to move in, we had found out about Cardinal Farms being there. We had friends who had done the food program, and that was very appealing to us. We ended up doing the food program our first year. Something I didn't mention last time, we also had done some of the child activities on Saturdays, and just to add a little color to that, I took 2 of my children to, they had one for young children that was all about flowers and how to grow a flower. It was from 10 to noon on a Saturday, in which we had to, purchase it online, and there was only 10 slots available for all these weekends, but it was wonderful. They taught our kids how to plant flowers, and then they actually planted the flowers, and then they got to pick flowers and make us a bouquet. It was amazing. We're signed up to do the food program again this year, and we love it. It is amazing. We don't have sidewalks in our neighborhood, but we feel very comfortable walking in our neighborhood. When we found out that some of our neighbors had a problem with the food program and the traffic at that point, we were willing to talk to them about it. It was something that we were experiencing to ourselves, the increase in traffic, but it was something that we knew about, we were able to plan for. Rich and Cindy did nothing but then at that point work to try to make things better. Part of the reason my husband and I even came tonight, I was so interested to hear what all of my neighbors and friends had to say last time, and then to hear Rich and Cindy rebut it and try to come and try to make things work, and even like their farm-to-table dinners, which I read it was very clear, okay, so they want to do the 2 weekends, but 4 events. They were even willing to get rid of the BYOB. I've had friends who have attended these BYOB, as if that's like a bad trigger word. That just means there's not going to be alcohol served there. So, like, if you would like some personally, maybe you should have to bring some. All of my friends that were there reported very low, like, they're not going, like, their catering company, you can hire a bartender. They could be having wild parties. They're not. It's 2 weekends a year. It also, like, all of these complaints, this is an agricultural residential neighborhood. This is a neighborhood. Some of the people talking about, I want to hear birds and croaking frogs. Like, yeah, we all hear that. It's a beautiful, quiet neighborhood most of the time. But sometimes there's children laughing, too. Also, I just want to say, during the events I've attended, including the preschool and also the food club, we were never close to any neighbors. Very far removed, no views. So,
Thank you. And did you say that you had already signed up for the dinner?
I have not signed up for a dinner, no.
Oh, okay.
For the food club, I'm hoping to do the food club again this year.
Yes, sir.
John Bassell, 9727 Walden Road. So, a lot of these people, their arguments would be valid if we were trying to do a zoning change. But it's AR, and that's agricultural. You buy your acreage, you don't have control over who moves in next door, what they do. AR, you gotta expect, there could be a farm next to you. That's part of AR. So, it's not that they didn't do their homework, it's the people that bought the houses around that are complaining. They're in an AR zone. So, there you go. If they're not allowed to farm, so what keeps them from partitioning off and selling some of their property? No, there goes your neighbor, your view, now you got a house right there with a family and kids. It's not gonna be quiet. You can't control the neighborhood. If you want to control what's next door, you buy what's next door. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm John Soroka. I live at 9544 Modena Farms. 425 feet of my property adjoins the east side of Cardinal Farms' Walgene parcel. So I have a vested interest to speak about this tonight. I'm urging the board to deny this permit request based on the concerns that I have. So what are my concerns? Increased traffic is a big one. There's a tremendous amount of vehicles that they're having come to this location on Pontiac Trail, and it's already a dangerous curve. It's 55 miles an hour, and we've had several accidents already. They end up on my property. We just had one a month ago, and the girl rolled her car over a couple times. It happens all the time. There's already been 7 accidents this year. It's 55 miles an hour on a blind curve. Northbound traffic backs up from 8 Mile beyond my street. every day, every morning, and every night. So it's hard to get out of our subdivision if you want to go north in the morning and at night. This is just going to make that even more of a nightmare to deal with that. The one-way, narrow one-way, come in this way, one-way sign, come out another way, buses, kids, a store, flowers, it just sounds like a recipe for an accident disaster to me, but it's just more mixed to the problem. Visiting patrons will surely miss the driveway and use our road to come down because it's the next turnaround. And then people will be on our street and just like, well, maybe there's not enough parking over there, so I'll just park on Modena Farms and walk over there. We got a private road, and we don't want the extra traffic coming down our road. Safety. Inviting the public into our neighborhood backyards allows for strangers to observe our dwellings, possessions, and children and expose them to an unwanted risk. Of my 425 feet of adjoining property line, on the about a third of my northern line is fenced with a split rail fence, but the other part of it is not fenced. And I really don't know what's going on with their faculty parking or what they're going to do there, but if they're going to do something, I want to have protection, I want to have containment, I want to have a fence there, and I want to have screening, just like everybody else is getting it. Because the screening that I have on my property is deciduous. So between October and middle of May, I can see right through there. The last thing that I'm concerned about is my property value. Quite simply, you can see by all the people that are here tonight voicing their concerns about this, people don't want to live next to this. So what's going to happen to our property value? Property value is going to go down because people don't want this commotion. The proposal says that they want to have the store, a winery, a festival. How about you look at the statement that you guys wrote, because it says that you want to have a winery. So everybody missed this, I guess, last week. Read the document. It says festival and winery in it. It seems like Cardinal Farms is just using the Right to Farm Act as a basis to be able to blow out 2 single-family residences into a store, a school, a winery, a parking lot, and a fairground for festivals.
Thank you, Mr. Soroka. Yes, sir.
I'm Jack Mosquitis. I live at 9512 Modena Farms. And one of my concerns is about the screening that they're proposing. I think it's completely inadequate. They're talking about putting in arborvitaes that are spaced 3 feet apart in a 1-gallon pot that's 42 inches tall. Put that thing in the ground, you're going to have a 30-inch plant. How long is it going to take to grow? They say, oh, it grows 3 feet a year. I've never seen an arborvitae grow 3 feet in 1 year. So, yeah, if you can do that, more power to you. And how long does it take for them to grow before we would wind up getting privacy? 3, 4, 5 years? The length of their screening is, they're talking about 80 feet. 80 feet. That doesn't even come close. I got over 400 feet of property that borders the Pontiac Trail House. They would need at least 230 feet to give some sort of a proper screening, and it can't be 3-foot pots. There's no screening at all proposed for the east and south property line that borders John's property on Modena Farm. This is where they're planning to, for the workers and employees to park. And I'm not so sure that 100 feet of screening on the north property line is enough to give these people their privacy either. One of my biggest concerns is about the amount of people wandering around the property on Pontiac Trail with a situation where they're scoping out our homes for whatever nefarious intentions they may have, and the importance of adequate screening is imperative. Lighting is another issue. What kind of lighting are they going to have for these evening things? Are they going to put string lights up on the walking path? And how long is it going to be before they turn that walking path into a cart path where they have to provide a shuttle service from A to B? People can't walk that far. You mean to tell me everybody that goes in there is going to be, 20, 25 years old? No. They're gonna have people that are in their fifties and sixties and seventies. They can't walk that far. We plan on putting a path in there. And while they sit here with a smile on their face, they want you to believe that they're good, upstanding neighbors of our community with the best interests of the township and its residents at heart. It's all balderdash. And they are only concerned about themselves and how much money they can make, regardless of how it affects the community and the homes around them.
Thank you. Okay, yes, sir.
Brett Davies at 9696 Walgene Road. My wife and I moved in about 3 years ago. I wanted to say that Rich and Cindy are truly an integral part of our city and township. I stand here and I look at the emblem of Salem Township and I see a farm. The zone is zoned for agricultural. They have a right to farm. We have 3 beautiful young children that we walk down to their farm every day. When we walk down there, Rich and Cindy are wonderful and welcome us in. They take us in, show us the goats, their farming operations, which is very clean, very well and efficiently run. All the animals are responsibly contained. Our children kind of roam freely and can visit the animals without, fear of anything. It's a beautiful thing that they can enjoy the animals. Again, I think some of the accusations here are far-stretched. I know Rich and Cindy have been mediators in this entire situation. They've reached out to our neighbors multiple times with letters inviting feedback, to which they didn't receive much feedback at the time. So all of their actions have been in mediation, from buying the property on Pontiac Trail to bring the traffic diverted from our street. I work remotely from home. I sit in my office and I stare out the window all day. I don't see many cars, hardly any cars coming down the street. When we go on walks with our kids down the street every day to Cardinal Farms, we do not fear for their lives at all with any excessive traffic by any means. So again, I think Rich and Cindy, they're salt of the earth people. They run a very clean and efficient business, and I fully support Cardinal Farms. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Amanda Britzer. I live at 9708 Walgene. I would strongly encourage you to approve this. Rich and Cindy have given it all. They've been fighting for their farm, their livelihood. This is how they put food on the table, and the fact that they do it in my neighborhood, I'm blessed. I moved in after them. They purchased their house the same year as we did. When 2020 happened, we walked to the end of the road. I'd only been there for a couple months. They were there with baby sheep or a goat or something. I was super excited that I found a gem in my neighborhood. They were one of the first neighbors I met. My daughter was 8 years old, and she fell in love with them. We go down to the farm when we have a bad day. We go down to the farm when we have a good day. I've been through personal things, asked them to pray for me, pray for my family, met them at the farmer's market, get eggs from them. My parents did their food. Share. We get things. We bought a pig from them. I am going to be heartbroken if this doesn't get approved. My family will be heartbroken. These neighbors don't like it. I have friends that would love to live in my neighborhood. So, I'm sorry, but this isn't a subdivision. It is an agriculture neighborhood, and that's why I bought that property that I bought. I have a barn, and I could get animals if I wanted to as well. I was excited when that was an option. I farm my garden, but not animals. My dogs hunt on my property. But anyways, let it end. Let's get this approved and move forward. Let's let this be a positive year. and neighbors that can get along and talk and have fun and walk down the street and smile and wave.
Bull 9593 Walgene, good evening again. I'd like to make 3 points. First, I strongly disagree and respectfully disagree with the township's decision to disregard the private road agreement, which is included in the deed restrictions when considering the conditional use permit for Cardinal Farms. Despite ongoing litigation, the agreement clearly defines road maintenance obligations. Costs are split per acre, and the road is designated single-family residential use. The legal framework must inform any decisions about expanded or commercial use of the road. The deed restriction and common sense leave no room for interpretation. This is clear. According to the document that I read that was uploaded to the website, Cardinal Farms Council interpreted it differently. Perhaps that's an interpretation, it's just not one that's going to hold up to the actual words on the paper. Extrapolating from that point, and stated more directly, it is unfair commercial use without compensation. Cardinal Farms plans to operate a for-profit business that relies on regular access by employees, and let's be honest, it's going to be customers too, via a private road maintained collectively by residents for residential purposes. This commercial activity will increase road wear and usage, creating a financial and legal imbalance. It's unacceptable for one party to profit from a shared resource without fairly contributing to its upkeep. On a side note, my wife and my daughter have also both had separate instances of near misses with cars coming down by the customers. The next point is conditional use must reflect reality. The simple, undeniable fact is this: Cardinal Farms lacks proper legal access for commercial activity. That is a requirement for the conditional use authorization. The road is a shared residential only access point. This constraint must be fully accounted for in any zoning or conditional use decision. If it is truly the position of council that the township cannot interpret the private road agreement because it's in litigation, then it is absolutely inappropriate and premature to consider this proposal until the appropriate jurisdiction has completed that interpretation. As my time is almost up, I want to note that there's many other reasons than this that my neighbors have pointed out in the master plan and zoning documents that represent a clear and undeniable conflict in this proposal. It must be denied. Cardinal Farms does not have legal access. It will disrupt the serene, peaceful, and secluded neighborhood predating the deed restrictions, yet codified by Mr. Wallenmeyer in the same. Thank you again for the consideration.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Number 01 Pontiac Trail. Imagine a serene body of water nestling within a community, not a business district. It's still surface reflecting by the sky above. But this isn't an ordinary pond, this is a water retention pond. It's structure designed to manage stormwater runoff, prevent flooding, and protect environment. While these ponds serve an essential purpose, they also pose potential risks if not properly safeguarded. There are 4 ponds currently within the damp area. Retention ponds collect excess water, slowing flow and filtering the contaminants before it reaches natural waterways. However, because they often resemble recreational lakes, they can attract unwanted visitors, curious individuals who may not understand the hidden dangers beneath their calm surface. These ponds have steep banks and sudden drops and unpredictable water levels, making them a hazard for trespassers, especially children. Safety is recommended and it is the responsibility of all at hand. Community education plays a vital role in the schools, neighborhood groups, and the businesses near the retention ponds should educate the public on their purpose and potential risks. Prevention measures do more than protect individuals, they safeguard the entire community. A well-maintained retention pond not only manages stormwater runoff, but also ensures that safety remains a priority. By implementing visible barriers, enforcing local regulations, and spreading awareness, we can uphold the integrity of those water systems while preventing unnecessary actions. One prior event we had, currently on the Cardinal Farms, we did have a car that came very close, within a few feet of one of our retention ponds. Luckily, since it had such a large berm, she wasn't able to get up and over it and come through the pond. One of the questions that we have, too, is house invasions are up quite a bit in the area. I believe that Oakland County put out several requests for people to be carefully aware, meaning that now there may be a commercial entity next door to us. This will increase the likelihood of possibly these gangs being able to break into our homes. I do note that I did notify our insurance carriers that we do have a commercial entity that's possibly coming up next door, and we did have an increase of over $500 on our insurance for that. So, that's good one.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Paul Petu, 9782 South Hazel. We live on the next street. Just wanted to let you know, Kelly and I have been on South Hazel. We've actually, their deed restrictions, we were part of that when the Waldemers had that farm there, as far as the size of homes and everything else. We were part of that. We've been on that road for 39 years. We've built 2 houses on that road. We have a 3rd parcel which we may build a retirement home on. So we've been there for a long time. Some of the things, the noise pollution, we have other residents from South Hazel that have heard it also. Not people from down the road or claiming came from Dixboro, people that are abutting that property. So we have heard it. One of the other things that would be a very difficult situation, they talk about agricultural. I don't have a problem with agricultural, but then we have catering trucks coming in. What part of that is agricultural? That's commercial. It comes rolling in. And then there's very vague veils on it, on all the wording in there, where they word not limited to. So basically get your foot in the door and then make it larger. These parties that they talk about, last time we were here, we were told maybe 1 bottle. Now it's very little alcohol. There's 400 people in one of those, there's 400 people total between those 4 times. 1 bottle would be less than 0.25%. That's not possible. I don't believe that. As far as pig roast, they talk about most of the pig roasts we've been to in Salem. I've been doing it for 40 years. They have alcohol. I don't have a problem with alcohol. People want to take a wander, it ends up in our backyard. It ends up right on our property. I don't want them on my property. If anything happens, I don't want them there. It's not that I'm against these people. I don't want them getting hurt there after a few cocktails. Another thing we have, everyone's covered all the bases, but we do have a designated gun range there. It's been there since 1988. The state police came back there. We talked to Salem Township on it. It was there since 1988, since before Walgene was formed. Many years later, the Groats who owned their property said it wasn't. The state police came back out and said it absolutely is. This was after the roads or farms were in. How uncomfortable would that be if I decided on a Saturday I wanted to go out there shooting while they had their party and they had a wedding gathering? That's the people's special day, and I'm going to be out there firing rounds. What's going to happen? Police are going to be called. How uncomfortable are police officers going to be to walk up and try, you can do this, it's within your rights, but they're having a special day. Well, it's in your rights, it puts them in an uncomfortable situation. What I feel this is a total business situation is what it is, where they're trying to get wedding parties and turn it into a commercial event. I don't have a problem with the children, I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't have a problem with the agricultural. When it turns into limited to, I have a problem with that. When the beers come into play and they end up on my property, I have a problem with that. As far as their animals, I've brought their animals back. I've brought their cat, which is the coolest cat in the world. I've brought it to the vet to make sure it's shipped. I've brought their animals back. So I have no problem with these people. I just worry about people wandering on our property after a few cocktails, and that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
not good at this. I'm a grumpy old marine. I'm at 9824 Walgene.
What's your name?
Los Saluda. I'm outside all the time. I'm the guy out there with a shovel shoveling the street in the winter.
What street are you on?
Walgene.
Walgene's, okay.
I don't have a problem with them farming their property. I have a problem with everything else. I don't see a reason why we have to have parties and everything else. They can farm. That's perfectly fine. I know I can have a farm on my property if I want one. I can do this. We've had chickens. But you know what? We had chickens. No one knew we had chickens. We took care of them. All right? The farm stuff is perfectly fine. It's when we go into, we're going to have weddings, we're going to do pig roast. That's not farming. I don't care. I don't see any other farm out here having a pig roast or having weddings at them. That's totally different. That's a commercial business. If you want to farm and have a little farm stand, that's fine. When you take over a building and you're going to put up a farm stand in a building, that's more than a farm stand. I see farm stands everywhere I drive through South Lyon and even in Salem and South Lyon. They're a little thing on the side of the road where people can stop and buy eggs or buy flowers that they have there. They're not a garage that's been converted. All right? I'm totally against them having a commercial business at that place. We moved in 2008 on a private road. The Groats lived back there. I never knew they did anything back there. If they had a horse event, they had their one event, there might have been one extra trailer come down the road. There wasn't anything else. I knew everyone there. I waved at every car that comes down the road. Most of the time, people don't wave back. A couple people never wave, but I'm not going to mention names. All right? That's all I have to say. You know, they complained that we didn't have an HOA when they moved in. They couldn't talk to anyone. There's 18 houses. They could have walked to every house or not. Everyone else seems to be able to talk to everyone. These people can't make the time of day. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I wasn't prepared to say anything, but something might come up. I live 9833 South Basil, so I'm diagonal behind. I live at the end of South Basil of the proposed property here.
Could you state your name, please?
I'm Julie Leo.
Go ahead, Julie.
So my concern is the noise. I came late, and so I don't know what has already been said, but I experienced the noise firsthand. It was, I think last year there wasn't much activity there, but the year before, it was loud. It felt like we were on a football field. There was microphones, cheering. It was an award ceremony, loud music. It wasn't like in the far distance. It was right there. I work in my yard. I'm a gardener. I work very hard. I'm a nurse. I enjoy my green tranquility in my yard, and if that's what I have to look forward to, I disagree with this. The farming, the children, I love it. I'm a planter and a gardener myself. But the extra, why? Why our community? Why our little neighborhood? There's so much land in South Lyon and Salem. Why did you choose to nestle yourself right in there amongst our tranquility, where we value our peace? Why there to do something other than the gardening and having school children come? I don't think any of us are opposed to that. It's the extras that you want and the unknown of the extras and how far will this go? I don't understand it, and I don't want it. I'm sorry. It's somewhere else. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mary Soroka. I live at 9544 Modena Farms. That's right up to Rich and Cindy. It's really difficult the last few times that I have been here. I feel like I'm so stuck in the middle with this. I just want to tell Rich and Cindy that I adore them. They're great people. I don't want to be neighbors with somebody that we're going to butt heads with. They hired, John and I's youngest girls, they're 16 now, but when they were 12 years old, they hired them to come to their farm. They taught them as they worked. They hung the garlic, they peeled the potatoes. Cindy would always comment about how fast their little fingers worked, and I thank you for those years of training my girls. I know that this is Rich and Cindy's dream. I've heard about it for years, not this extensively, but I know that it's in their heart. But to be so against it, everybody here on Walgene and now moving on to the people of Modena Farms, their dream, it was also our dream to build on property and retire at our places that we built. Noreen and Jack are on the corner right there. They're retired, and they have this beautiful sun porch that they have to look out to. That would be a turnaround of a bus. Buses. It's just, I'm against this just because it's not fair. I love your stories of walking your children down the road and going to see them and coming home with lettuce and petting the goats. I love that too. I still love it. But it's the fairness that gets to me. John and I have 10 acres, and we knew buying it was AR as well. We couldn't do that to Jack and Noreen and Aaron and Julian and the Dana and Dan Pop that hadn't even moved in. We couldn't do that to them because of what it is. It's that respect factor of us living, relaxing when we come home, whether we're retired or not.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Bob.
Robert Kovac, I live at 9875 Pontiac Trail. We bought this property knowing it was residential, and we didn't want to come in and see if somebody come in and ruin the area. I don't have anything against farming, but I don't want all this traffic coming in there. That's fine, you're going to grow some stuff, but sounds to me like it's going to get out of control. They're going to start small, and next thing you know, there'll be way more traffic coming in there than what they say. From what they're saying, keeps getting greater and greater. And I know it's going to make a mess on Pontiac Trail coming in and out of there. So, we're against it. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I think that is everyone. So if you're wondering what I'm doing on my phone, I'm not checking like Facebook or anything like that. I've got Onyx Hunt in here, so I'm trying to see where you guys all are in relation. So I'm trying to follow along. I don't mean to be disrespectful. So, okay, let us move on. Chairperson comment, that's already done. New business items, none. Old business items, Cardinal Farms site plan, conditional use permit. We've already been through what this is. I don't think we need a summary unless it's two. I think what would be good, if we could ask our experts. So I think we hear a lot about the Right to Farm Act in the camps. So I've asked Michelle if she would be kind enough to give us a review. If you asked every person in here about the Right to Farm Act, I think every single one of us would probably have a different definition. So I thought I would let Michelle start off and provide some clarifications, what it is, what it's for, what's allowed, and what's not. I think a lot of people tend to think, and we hear this quite a bit, that oh, it's right to farm, there are no rules. Well, that's not exactly true. So, Michelle, if you wouldn't mind.
Certainly, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, with respect to this application, we're looking at a site plan and a conditional use approval. There are multiple uses happening on this property, one of which is farming. Farming is permitted by right in the AR, Agricultural and Residential Zoning District. The conditional use permit application is only specifically for the portion of the property that's for the farm-based tourism activities. And that is defined in our zoning ordinance, and that definition and that list of uses in the zoning ordinance is the lens that you all should be looking through when looking at the proposed use. There are specific use provisions that go with farm-based tourism activities that all farm-based tourism activities in the township must comply with, but because it's a conditional use, you can also add additional conditions to that specific use that's operating there. So an example would be, oh, there's this chart of scheduled activities. We are going to confirm that the activities cannot exceed what is in that chart. So as the Planning Commission, as long as it, is intended to comply with the intentions of the zoning ordinance, you can add those conditions. So public health, safety, welfare. Now, regarding the Right to Farm Act, there are so many misconceptions about it. It does not exempt farms from pulling permits, which some folks think. Some folks think that it means that you don't have to comply with zoning regulations. That's not the case. And specifically for this group of uses that is being proposed, the ones that may be protected under the Right to Farm Act are the events that are intended to promote the sale of farm-based products. So like the farm-to-table dinners could be protected under the Right to Farm Act. Educational activities, unless kids right after are buying produce themselves, that is a farm-based tourism activity, but it's likely not protected under Right to Farm Act. All of this is to say, GAMP means Generally Accepted Agricultural Management Practices. There are 8 different GAMPs currently, and the one that may apply here is the Farm Market GAMP. This is all to say that if a farm can prove that they comply with the specific Generally Accepted Agricultural Management Practice, GAMP, that applies to their specific type of farm, then they could be protected from nuisance claims. I know this is like so much, and perhaps the township attorney wants to add something.
Actually, I thought it was an excellent summary, Michelle. The Right to Farm Act acts as a shield, not as a sword. So I really would prefer to look at this not as a right to what's allowed under the Right to Farm Act, but what's allowed under our local ordinance. I think that's what this planning commission has to look at. I actually met with the representative from the GAMS committee last week. He went through all the activities proposed. He said that probably a third of them are clearly allowed under the GAMS, a third are questionable, and a third probably not allowed under GAMS or the Right to Farm Act. And he also said, I think the best way to approach this is to determine what's allowed under the township ordinances. And as I've said previously, I know there is obviously, the township's aware that there's a private road maintenance agreement. We're aware that there are deed restrictions, but regardless of what happens in the pending circuit court action, it's been my recommendation and opinion for this commission that they can only look at what we require in our ordinances, that what's required by the deed restrictions, what's required by the road maintenance agreement is a totally separate thing, that the township does not get involved in enforcing any of them.
Thank you, because that was going to be your question. So what we're trying to, we've heard a lot of things for the last hour or so, and I want to make sure that we have a little bit clearer understanding that there are certain things that are allowed. There are certain things that are protected. There are certain things that are not, and we have a responsibility to focus on our own in zoning. And it is separate from the litigation. So, okay. So Michelle, do you just want to give a very brief overview on what's changed since last time?
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. There are 10 additional overflow parking spaces in response to a request to see a more clarified list of planned activities. A chart has been provided. I do want to say that in the draft of the chart that the Kern sent to us, there was a note about no alcohol and no amplified music, and I'm now seeing that that doesn't appear on that note is not on this chart. So that conflicts with the report that we have, which says that the chart does say no alcohol. That's been removed, so that's not on there, which is something to be aware of, since that was a condition of the postponement at the last meeting, was to clarify the alcohol consumption that was going to be happening on site. But within that chart, it more or less reflects the activities that were discussed, just in a clearer way in terms of the frequency and the attendance. There's been some changes to the landscape screening. On the Pontiac Trail parcel, it appears to comply with the standards. On the Walgene parcel, there's a 6-foot privacy fence on the western property line, but it doesn't go the whole way, specifically on that southern portion. You can see this on page 6 of their application. And those are the changes. In our report, we do say any items that must be addressed before taking action, whether through a conditional approval or postponement or whatever. But I do want to clarify that Paul and I had a conversation with someone from the Washtenaw County Road Commission about the commercial driveway application for the Pontiac Trail parcel. And this is a phone conversation, so I'm summarizing. I don't have anything in writing. It hasn't been, that commercial driveway permit has not been issued yet. But this person at the Road Commission indicated that it probably would not get approved without some changes, including a left turn study, a right turn taper, which is just like kind of a right turn lane, and they're likely not going to approve 2 points of ingress-egress off of Pontiac Trail. So that would undoubtedly alter the site plan, the minor site plan, the layout of the, you see what I'm saying. So with that in mind, I just want the Planning Commission to consider that there may be changes to the minor site plan with any action that you all take.
Then why don't we put those?
Michelle, in regards to, and this might be a little more detailed, but when you talk about a turn taper, so if it's coming from the south, I get that, it's to the right. Mm-hmm. But wouldn't there be one on going north too? So there'd be like a
left turn taper?
Yes. I don't know if it's left turn taper, but you know, the go around.
Yes. They didn't indicate, I mean, this is all on the phone, so you know, I hate when it's on the phone. But they did not indicate that in the conversation. And none of this has been put in writing yet, so I'm just...
And this is all pending study?
Yeah, they said they would be
looking at traffic
likely want a left turn, specifically a left turn study.
Did you mention the speed limit going through this? Do you recall?
There was, in so far that's why they want these other things, because of the speed.
So it's a phone thing. So it's just kind of a heads up. Okay. Alrighty. Michelle, is there, I think we talked about this last time, insurance requirements, is that part, that's not really us, is it?
No.
That's something, whatever they get through their permits, okay. And I know there was something about, I just got a couple quick notes here. Where's the gun range?
Really good question.
Paul?
This is directly on the back side of their property. It's on our property. It's, there's a thicket there, and, it's the very, I don't know if I have a picture of it or not, but it's.
I've got it on my phone.
Okay.
Picture your house.
Yeah, it's right directly behind the house. There's a 8-foot berm. It's a walkout basement. There's an 8-foot
Can you come
berm.
show me,
I can.
please? This is just that onyx hunt my husband uses for properties. Okay, thank you. Hey guys, we're in a meeting here. So, this I'll just show you. He's talking about it's this corner, his back corner lot.
What direction the muzzle's pointed when you shoot?
Towards the farm.
South.
Yes.
Okay.
Southeast.
Southeast.
I guess, did you guys want to see that? Yeah, he said it's in his backyard. And he's got a berm right there.
Where's the farm at?
This way.
He's green.
This is the farm right here.
So just to confirm, you say shooting towards the back of the property?
Yeah.
And how high is the berm?
It's 8 feet.
8 feet. Okay. All right, I just want to get that out of the way.
I have a quick question. How wide is the berm? 8 feet tall?
It's 8 foot tall, and it goes around the whole back of the house. It was probably, the whole curve of it is probably 8 feet, 9 feet, and it curves. It goes from the north to the south, and then it heads west.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's an 8 foot tall berm, so, it's got to fire right into the ground to walk out.
Okay. We're going to move on.
I have a quick question. I just have one more quick question.
Okay,
Is it
sure.
for personal use? Is this personal or is this just personal? So it's just you. So no one feasibly would just walk up and start shooting unless like you knew about it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Michelle, I noticed that when they're talking about the health department, it needed to be within compliance and whatnot, but I didn't see any mention of porta potties, outhouses. So was that an issue or mentioned anywhere? Did I miss it? I just want to make sure. These things get so thick.
I don't think you missed anything.
Okay. You guys have some questions?
I'm going to question, are you using porta potties, or are they going to be using facilities at the,
Well,
new property that they purchased?
you can use your microphone. I don't know. I guess so. My question would be, if they didn't qualify for the health department certificate, would they include those? Bart, did you have a question? Do you have any questions? No, not yet. We get our questions out first, with one another.
Michelle, the driveway permit, they just applied for that on the 5th, I see. So it's 30 days out
Ideally,
before you get an answer.
typically.
How long are the road studies if we're talking about? I think you mentioned 2.
How long would the left turn study take?
Yeah, I mean, if the permit's 30 days, is the study longer? Is it for processing, or is that the total time it would take for the study and?
No, the
permit?
road commission doesn't conduct a study. They would require a study. So the Kearns would commission a study from a traffic engineer.
Got it.
So technically, it could be longer.
So I think
Could be.
so for a time frame, we're looking at, they may not receive a permit, but then when that comes in, or if it's before that, they would put a letter out of requiring a traffic study or whatever they're asking for.
That could be their response to the commercial
commercial permit.
application. Yes.
And so then that's another process.
Mhm.
Any idea how long that takes?
A good traffic engineer could do it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Has that process been started yet? Have we contacted a traffic engineer?
No, I don't believe so. That would be something that the Kearns do, yeah. And because I don't even know if they've heard from the county road commission yet. We just bothered them to find out.
Right.
So.
Okay.
It seemed to me that some of the screening was insufficient. Some of my concerns were the Modena Farms, what would be exposed to the most intense traffic, had the least screening. Did anybody else have any thoughts on that?
What kind of maybe what concept there, and I'm trying to recall. Forward of the plane of the house that faces the road, the front yard, quote unquote, fences different. Screen fences, what is allowed is different in the front as what's permitted in the back. But it sounds like the neighbors would probably want something that's different than what's currently shown in the ordinance. Speaking clearly or correctly.
Yeah, like front yard fences can't be as tall as they can in the rear yard. Is that what you're getting at?
Right, and like the property that's just north of the Pontiac Trail, label B on this one that I'm looking at, I'm going to guess that maybe the resident there would want something. I'd like to be very clear as to what the neighbors want, would require me. I personally, I don't want any fences. I don't want to see fences. That's me. But if these people are saying, this is what we want, I prefer to look at a 6-foot fence than deciduous trees or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to be understanding what the neighbors are looking at. I know it's on a case-by-case basis. I don't know if that's even something we can consider, but,
Well, in a previous iteration of the application, they did include photos of what the existing vegetation, I believe, is when those photos were taken, of what the existing screening looks like, and then in their latest application, it shows evergreen screening to sort of like fill in those spots. Now, to your point, it may not be what the neighbors want, but we are really looking through the lens of the zoning ordinance standards.
And making sure that the house north of the property is being addressed as well.
Excuse me, this is going to stay between us for a while. Public comment will be over, but you will have an opportunity at the end. Okay. I know it's an emotional issue.
I guess I'll say it like this: what can happen, and these people all certainly have some different opinions or thoughts. So maybe it's something that they are looking for is within reason, within our requirements that we can state. I'd like to understand that. I'm believing that the expenses would be covered through Cardinal, that this is as part of the condition of use application.
I guess, not just on the Modena Drive, but then by the Soroka's property, it just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like it's being screened properly. On page 6 to 7, talks about the shrubs being low, which didn't seem, that seemed to be insufficient. But then there was also the deciduous, where did I see that? Was it to the west? And the south. Okay, the west property providing screening from the neighborhood. Proposed screen only covers a portion of the western property line. Why doesn't it cover all of it? Is it not necessary?
For the Walgene parcel?
Yes.
So the proposed screen that they're using is a privacy fence. And so my understanding is that they didn't extend it because that would be conflicting with the ordinance to have a privacy fence in the front yard. Now, you can do landscaping, of course, if that's what you all are getting at.
Okay. And then, let's see, to the south. Where's the southern property? No proposed screening pros along the southern property. Walgene's, and so that is the Sorokas property, right?
Yeah, that was what I was talking about.
Okay.
That area.
The south. East. It's east. You're right. Thank you. Go ahead.
So on the west side of the property, you've got about 150 feet of privacy fence. Is that agreeable with the neighbor there? Is that agreeable, the 150 feet of fencing on the west side? So that is not agreeable.
150 foot of border.
So if you had something that screens 750 feet, that's what you're looking for? And then on the south side of the Pontiac Trail property, so neighbors that are on the south side of that driveway, there will be a fence there, is that correct? And is that agreeable?
What is it you're asking?
The Pontiac Trail property, the driveway that comes in there.
Correct.
So the south side, there's a house being built, there's a couple other homes there. Is that a fence that's gonna go in there, or what would you like to see over on that end?
No, they said,
That's where the 3 foot a year that they were talking about, right?
I thought they had an option of that or a fence, no?
31 gallon arborvitae they said,
Not a fence.
not a fence.
No.
No fence, it's arborvitae.
It's 3.5 to 3 foot 9 foot tall arborvitae spaced 3 feet apart. So you've got a 3.5 foot tree, 3 feet apart, and this says that the species plant will grow 3 feet per year to a maximum height of 25 feet.
The only thing that's gonna grow like that are green giant. They're gonna get 2 to 3 feet a year. So very aggressively.
How wide are they?
They get huge. They get 10 foot to 12 foot in diameter.
Okay.
I planted some 5 foot tall and within 2-3 years, they were 10 feet. The green giants, they grow aggressively. The other question I had was on that Pontiac Trail property, the north side now, is that where the ponds are? Who cleared all those trees out that would have given you some shielding there?
Cleared out the box elders and the other dead trees that we had received. I think when we purchased the house, that there were a lot of trees falling onto the street, and we got a letter when we moved in, that came a month before we moved in, and said that we need to clear out a lot of the dead trees. So we thought
It's really opened it up now.
cleared up a lot of stuff, where there was a lot of dead, not elders, ash, elm, all kinds of stuff.
Which was also, those dead trees were taken down before the purchase of Cardinal Farms of that property. So all of that was done before the purchase of that property.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to that. Just a simple question, let's try not to debate. Guys, if you have any, Any other questions for Michelle? Okay, so if we get through that, I'm gonna invite them up to be able to answer, so we can speak to them directly. Would you guys mind going to the table? Thank you. A couple questions, and some of them might be repetitive from the last time. I apologize. I got notes everywhere. I threw everything down here. I know you talked about the staff part going down the Waljeans Road. You didn't want them to go through the other way. You wanted to come down Waljeans. What if you don't get your application or permit from the health department? Would you be planning on putting portables out there?
At Walgene or at the Pontiac Trail property?
Well, wherever they would be required to be. Where would you put them?
We put them wherever they're required to be.
So is that on your farm as well as both
We
properties?
already have one at the Walgene property all season long. It's already there. We use it, because that's what we use for staff.
Okay.
So if we did not get the health department approval for the Pontiac Trail property, then we would put one there too.
Okay. You guys can go ahead and fill in right now. Do you have questions for them?
I have a question, about the road permit. If they don't approve that, what does it do to your Pontiac Trail entrance and then, I mean, it's useless. I mean, what's your plan with that then?
Well, first of all, I'd like to speak to the fact that that's a private application from us that I paid for, and the fact that Carlisle Wortman called and got a report on that without notifying us that you were going to call and brought that to the meeting, I find that unapproachable. Yeah. If you were going to bring that up and call them, you should have spoke to us. We're paying a lot of money for this application, and so it seems fair that you should have spoken to us. I can't speak to that because WCRC did not call me. My permit is in process, and it has 30 days before I get an answer. So I can't speak to that.
We work for the township.
This is a private application.
Okay.
I'm going to speak through the chair.
That's fine.
As we all should.
Okay, thank you.
So I can't speak to what would happen because I don't know. I want to answer his question.
Well, you did answer the question.
Okay.
So thank you. I appreciate that.
Maybe a word or something.
Yeah, we don't have a report. There's just lots of concerns out there. And so some of the concerns are, I received all kinds of reports and Google reports and whatnot. And I want to make sure that the township has our ducks in a row, that we're not going off either neighbor or applicant or commissioner report from Google. We're going directly to the source to find out what the rules are. Here's what we're looking at, what would be required. So that was my question.
Is there another question you're asking, or?
No, that's what
okay.
I was explaining to Michelle and how that started out, because I was reviewing all the paperwork.
Through the chair, if I could ask a question
Yeah.
about Pontiac. You just this month paid $850 to Washtenaw County, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And what is that going to cover?
That's our application for the commercial driveway permit. And also, we had to pay, that was $500, and we had to pay $350 in advance for, $350 for the permit application, and then $500 for the inspection post that, so.
Have they told you yet that you need to do a traffic study?
No, this is the first we've heard of anything. They said don't reach out to us, give us 30 days, and then we'll get back with you, so we respected that. We're prepared to take the steps necessary to make sure it's safe. You know, we understand that that's a busy road and there's a curve. The library's there, Modena Farms is there, there's the Wallace Croziers are there. So there's a lot of activity at that curve. We're not the only ones there.
Sure.
So we'll make sure that we're safe. That's an important part to us.
So at this stage, you don't know when that traffic study is gonna be done, or even if they haven't even approached that yet.
No, we would ask that the commission would, issue our permit based on the condition that we receive that commercial driveway permit. Because there's no way to know.
More information that just elicited more questions.
Right.
Trying to be thorough. And here's on one back of the agenda, I don't know if you want to see if it has with their permits that they submitted.
Mm-hmm.
For the dinners, where was, I know we spoke this last time, but where is the food source? Is it mostly all from your farm?
Mm-hmm.
All of it? Okay,
Yeah.
so nothing from the outside?
Oh, no, some things, we don't grow everything,
Right,
so,
right.
yeah. So, but most of it, the idea is that you're eating right next to where your food was raised or grown, so most of it. I mean, we've only had 3 total? 3 total, so we didn't do any activities in 2024, so. And we did limit that to 2 on the updated application. And there is no alcohol, I'm not sure how that got deleted, but we are in agreement that there's no alcohol at any event.
Okay, so that will, I noticed that it said it was on the site, and I couldn't find it.
I think we covered that last time, no alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's not in, I didn't see it in writing anywhere.
And there are no plans for a winery, and we've never done weddings, and we never will do weddings.
That's a whole nother meeting.
Won't be our meeting, because we don't do it. Somebody else have questions? Anything about the chart, you guys? It's actually in your packet.
No, I don't have my, that other. That's what I think.
Oh, he's got it.
Oh, wait a minute, maybe I can just pull it out of here.
I'm good.
You got it, okay.
He's nice. He's good. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't want to pull it apart like that. I have some questions on the chart.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like that you guys are requesting, to have activities going all year.
Mm-hmm. With varying intensity.
Yeah. And I think there's a big difference between the number of attendees for just a couple. The winter education could be anywhere between 15 and 30 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that, or?
Yeah,
When we're looking at, like, we're looking at something, when we look at the intensity, I feel there's a big difference between 10 and 15 kids versus 30 kids.
Mm-hmm. But we're also limiting it to 1 session, so 5 sessions per year, so it'd be about 1 a month over the winter. So that's what we felt like was a good compromise.
And then the field trips are 15 to 30 as well.
Mm-hmm.
25 programs a year.
Mm-hmm.
Over 7 months.
Right. And then during that time, there's 35 programs for 10 to 15 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to narrow down, focus the kids, as many, like, you've got 1 to 2 hours. Is it 1 hour or 2 hours?
1 to 2 hours, depending on the program. So some
different programs.
different programs. So most of them are about 75 minutes. So a lot of them are preschool programs. So they're a mom coming with their child, and they're doing something like feeding the animals, learning like what is a farmer, spring on the farm. So they're about 75 minutes. That's about the tolerance level for 3 to 5 year olds. So.
So then with the kids, you have with that too. So with schools or I'm sure there's some sort of requirement, is there a ratio?
Yes. So the schools are insured, and the schools bring the appropriate number of chaperones, and so we've always asked, like, do we need insurance? And the schools are fully insured because they travel a lot. Same with, we've had South Line Kids Club come out before, and they have the right ratio, and they're insured as well. So.
What is the ratio? So if you have 30 kids, how many adults are you going to have in there?
It's usually 1 per 10 is typical. No. I'm sorry, for field trips.
Oh.
Are you talking field trips, or are you talking our preschool programs?
Both actually.
Okay.
So your preschool program, while it says farm-based education, it doesn't say whether it's preschool. And that says 10 to 15 kids. So, but that is preschool.
Yep, those are mostly preschool programs. Yep.
Okay, and then the next one, the field trip to school.
15 to 30 kids.
So if you have 30 kids,
you might have
1 to 10.
You might have 3 to 5 teachers included in that. So most school classes, like for us to accommodate, like Sarah Elementary came out, like most of their class sizes are 25 to 30, and they're willing to come out one at a time, but that's the class sizes nowadays.
And what was the ratio for the preschool?
It's 1 caregiver to every child. So we usually have 10 slots, like Kirsten said, and then you have 1 parent with.
And then probably a couple teachers, right?
No teachers.
Yeah,
that's just our private program that we offer. So it's people from the community sign up. No. Sorry, the field trips are schools and groups. That's why we put that in parentheses. Farm-based education programs are programs that we host. Same with the farm camps. We host those. And the winter education program. So, just from a ratio standpoint, when we look at the days from April through October, not including the winter education because that's only 1 day a month, of the total available days, and we're only going to do we'll never do more than 1 program a day, but that's only 35% of the total available days that we would have an education program operating. That's what it works out to.
Under the PAINT education, and you hit it exactly what I was looking at. Because I'm seeing the overlap of how many different things can be happening on any one day, looking at the impact of how many people are on the property. You're saying only 1 of these line items goes across, so it only happens on one given day.
Right. Over on the right, it says that as a note. A maximum of 1 educational program per day, and none on Sundays. April 3rd.
So if you're having an education program, are you still going to be having farm camps on the same day?
No.
And are how many staff did you say did the farm to table dinners?
Well, the catering brings their own staff, so I think last time they had 5 or 6, 5 to 7 maybe, and we probably had 8, I would say.
8 of your own staff.
Okay. Yeah, for about a 4-hour period.
And then you have some sort of entertainment.
Yeah, a duo, acoustic.
And did you guys agree to any amplified music?
No.
No, because, I mean, the goal of the music during, like, the dinner is background music. It's not like you're going to a concert and, like, you're there to hear the band. You would not know the band, typically. So it is lightly amplified, but it's not high volume.
and it's done by between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. All the other comments on all the loud music playing, it is not from my farm.
It's not from our farm.
So everything's done
It
by,
is
by
not
9
from our
PM.
farm.
So is there an arrival time that's prior to this?
No, only for staff and catering. Mhm.
What time is that start, just out of curiosity? 4?
4. Mhm. Mhm.
So the music is all acoustical music,
Mhm.
slightly amplified acoustical.
Slightly.
Slightly
Mhm.
amplified.
The goal is to be able to eat your meal in here,
And have
and they're only like
conversation.
50 feet away, so it's pretty, you know. We have neighbors who have bonfires regularly, and they play loud music. We hear it on a regular basis, so it's amplified music. It's, you know, it's way more frequent than our farm-to-table dinners.
Madam Chair, there is, one of the standards for this use, farm-based tourism activities, is that noise levels shall not exceed 65 decibels at any lot line or road right of way. So that's already within the zoning ordinance.
Okay, I was gonna ask what the rules were. I know that's an issue occasionally in Salem Township. Believe it or not. All right.
Farm market is on 13th.
Yeah. Mhm.
Some of the things that we should be looking at are, do you have any questions on the site plan? Are you guys good with this green? Should it be more? Should it be, is it adequate? Any suggestions? No, okay. Michelle, I have a question, and it's kind of a dumb one. Well, but when it comes to like school buses, like I know that, we had, when we built our private roads, when my child was going to school, we built up to fence, because we needed to accommodate certain type of roads, if you know, what I talked about, like class C, which something goes away, or, you know, there was a certain kind of road. And in here it said, oh, we're gonna park partially on the asphalt, partially on the grass. I mean, for this type of activity, does it even matter? Is that like an issue at all, or does that just all come from the rural commission?
Well, since it's only serving one property, the engineering standards that would apply that you'd have to meet if you're doing a private road that has a bus on it wouldn't apply. Because there's only one property that's being served by the road.
Oh, okay. So, alright, so now this is getting a little ahead of myself, and I said I wasn't gonna do this, but if they're gonna require, like a not segment, so we got their cul-de-sac, so that's good, thinking for the fire department, stuff like that. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the clerk? Once we've gone over this one,
I'm sure if I could have
Yeah.
a couple more questions. With regard to your planned activities, clearly the farm-to-table dinners and your farm market, you're promoting and actually selling your farm-based products. But I'm having a hard time understanding how your workshops and your educational programs will actually promote the sale of your farm-based products.
That's a good question. First of all, our understanding under the farm market GAMP, if you read marketing, it says promotion and educational activities. So education's actually part of that. And so most of the customers who come to our farm as part of those activities purchase from us in other ways as well. So that's how they found out about our programs. So there's a lot of crossover between the education that we do and the selling of our products. And most of the customers who you would speak to could verify that. So we're not actively, like at an educational program, I'm not requiring the purchase of anything for them other than the ticket. But that does, under the farm market GAMP, that does serve to help bring income into the farm using the farm for that. So that's one of those things. I spoke to the chair as well about that, and his opinion was that education of this nature actually does fall under farm market GAMP. And so, and based on what we read in that as well, we find that it does, because it does directly coordinate to the products that we're selling. There are educational things that you could do that would be unrelated, but our education is directly related to the agriculture that we're doing.
So would the farm market be open when you're having these workshops and educational programs? So
yes.
It would be encouraged that they leave a bio product. You know.
I would not discourage them for sure. We have not had the farm market stand before. So when we have had events before the complaint came and we had things, there wasn't that opportunity. There were people who we usually met at the Southline Farmers Market. But now that is something that could do a lot of crossover as well. People could come through the farm stand, they could purchase something on their way to it or out of it, if it was open when they were there.
So when you have the cooking classes and things, you don't require them to purchase your farm products in order to use in the cooking class?
Well, we use our farm products in the class, so we're not holding any cooking classes. I don't think we would get approved for that under the health department. Maybe that's down the road. But let's say, for instance, one thing we want to host is like a cut flower workshop. So adults come and we invite a florist to come and they teach them how to make an arrangement for a holiday or something like that. That is using all of my products in order to do that. So, and when I have education, I'm using my products to teach those children about the farm. So for us, it seems like a very clear correlation and crossover between those things.
So when they're purchasing the tickets, is that part of that purchase price goes toward the cost of the product, the farm product?
Yes, I'm considering that as part of my cost of goods.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. Thank you.
Speaking of the workshops, you don't have a day on here of when they would be. Is it, would that be a 5 to 8, would that be a Saturday, do you think?
Potentially. I know it wouldn't be Sunday because we don't hold anything on Sundays, but it also could be an evening.
You have your dinner so it could potentially be on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Put there just as a rain date.
As a rain date. That's the only reason we.
Like a Friday, Saturday, but Friday got rained out because we would have.
It's a big investment.
It's a big investment to have all the infrastructure there. The pigs are done and ready. All that. So the Sunday would be the rain date.
We're not scheduling it on Sunday.
So you don't know when your workshops will be then? When do you think you'll schedule those? And the reason I'm looking at it is I'm looking at the intensity of use and the amount of days. I'm looking at what's happening on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There's something else on Saturday. Looking at these dates up here, I don't, there's only one a week, so I understand that. I'm just trying to get a visual in my head of what's going to be going through the neighborhood, what you're planning to go through the neighborhood.
Well, first of all, there's only, on here, we have 5 workshops a year, from April through October, so it's very minimal. So if I held one in the evenings or on a Saturday, so I would say maybe like I wouldn't want to, I don't think I could, we're small operation, so I wouldn't want to hold it when I had the farm market stand open, so it'd probably be either an evening when the farm market stand wasn't open, or on a Saturday. Or if I did, I'd have to have enough staff to cover it, so. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to speak to the actual dates of that.
Yeah, no, I get it. We're just trying to figure out what's this gonna look like in the everyday lives of all these people.
We're doing our best to give you that information, but, you know, we also haven't done it, so that's why we want to give an intensity that at least gives you the picture of what it's going to be and what we're committing to.
Sure, and I understand, but from our perspective, we have a responsibility to ensure that we know, what this looks like, what the impact is, and then obviously the concern is always just sliding scale. So that's something to consider, because then it comes down to it says, you didn't say they could do this. You know, or you didn't say I could do this, or you said they couldn't and they are, you know, and then we have to defend it. So we are really trying to, I know you don't know what we.
Oh, I don't know what you've been through.
I really want to know.
That's the guy who pushed me to work, thank you.
You're welcome. You did my best.
Some sort of inclusivity, exclusivity statement would be helpful. You know, the statement, the chart is accurate but not meant to be exact, and means actual numbers will fluctuate slightly. Personally, when you sit there and say number of attendees, instead of saying like 10 to 15, I'd rather see 35 max, and then take 30 out. You know, we're trying to work with a number that we can approve, a statement that we can, you know, stand by, that you committed to, that we look at, that what we need to discuss on the table. So,
And we're
trying to get rid of the ambiguity in there.
And we are, and I'm,
I know
what I don't want to do is give you something that is also false, just to make you, you know, to feel better. We are, and these are open to the public events that we have not held, so we are trying to give you a max or a small range that they would be in and commit to that. And I said when we were asked to do the chart that I want to be sure that we're not beholden to the letter, because
if 31 kids show up for a program and you say 30, it's like,
But that goes both ways. That's exactly why there are rules and guidelines, is to maintain a sense of balance of what we're trying to achieve.
Yes.
So it is important. Is anybody gonna come out there and complain that you have 31 instead of 30 kids? I would hope not.
I would think so.
However.
Yes, they would.
That's our fear.
I would say
understand
yes.
that sometimes there are limited staff, right? And as a business owner, I fully understand that in dealing with the general public. Believe me, I know that.
And
So I think.
we do that, like the schools, you can
So
see,
when you
the
say
schools.
I can't be beholden, I disagree with that. I think we do need to be held to the numbers that we put on here, or that you put on here.
Yep, and we are, but just like you run a business as well, so I may sell 30 tickets and I may have 25 that day because some people don't come.
And that's business.
Yep, and that's business. They go, you know, it goes both ways.
I know
So.
all about that. I know when it rains, you take a huge loss.
Yep, and if we have a farm to table dinner and it rains and we can't reschedule it, we take a huge loss. So I appreciate the commission and you, Madam Chairman, that you are advocating for the people who are dissenting in it, but I also hope that.
I'm not advocating for the people that are dissenting. Let's be very clear about that. I'm advocating for the people of Salem Township and the zoning laws. And that those are our responsibilities.
And we are, those people too. So that's where we're trying. We are. I think we've done a very diligent effort. Every recommendation that Paul has asked, we've done everything asked of us. But I mean, at some point it becomes, you know, I can't give it to you. So I could, but I don't want to be false. So.
I would disagree with that. I think you could. I think if I were to sell, you know, 15 tickets, and because I said I made a chart, and this is what the chart was approved, and it said 10 kids, then you would sell to 10 kids.
Am I giving you the impression I'm not doing that?
No, you're telling me what I'm giving the impression. You said I can't be held to that.
No. What I'm saying is, no, that's not what I'm saying. I wrote this chart because you asked the commission asked for it, and there are maximums on here, and there are numbers on here. What I'm telling you is that, and you have a business open to the public as well, there might be a mom who brings a grandma with her and doesn't tell me. I'm not going to kick them off my farm because I wrote this chart. So that's what I'm saying. We're going to comply with this, issuing the permit. That's why we wrote this chart. So oh, no, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
That's in your control.
Yes, that is, and
You could sit there
we
and
sell
say,
tickets.
You could sit there and say, max is 30.
Mm-hmm.
And only invite 25. So if someone brings grandma, they still comply.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think honestly, this pendulum swings, and I'm looking at this and going cross-eyed, which, you know, you must have a little bit of this. But I think it's something that we may, and correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm off here, but I think more along the lines of, if it said hours of operation or based on the Walden, you know, hours of operation for events are this to this, max so many people. Yeah, we're doing 2 of these events a year, 5 of these events a year. And I guess I'll kind of take it back to, so the neighbors could kind of say, okay, wait a minute, they said they're not open on Monday. Right? So maybe there's a statement where we don't do anything on Mondays. Mondays is a day off at restaurants and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so these people wanted to say, hey, we're going to have a birthday party for our kid. We don't want to traffic. We don't want to make sure we have a birthday. So hey, let's plan on Monday. I'm kind of, but it needs to be clear with the numbers. You know, with the statement down the bottom. Just lest I forget. Can I jump into a slightly different? I'd be very interested in seeing for the bus parking, for the 50 feet long buses. How long is a bus?
35.
35? Okay. That's me. There you go. In the site plan, showing something that says this is like an acceptable bus path, how
Do we have that?
how much they pull off.
I think that's in there, Bart.
That is in there?
It's already in there.
All I'm seeing is that, I'm catching up.
Yeah, it's got a picture of a bus.
Okay, so that is beyond
Yeah.
that? Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any other questions for the Kerrs?
Oh. Okay, that's the meeting, that's not, I've seen that.
No, there's a picture of a bus in here. I saw it.
No, I'm talking,
Oh, sorry.
you're talking just the radius of the turn of the bus, or is it separate?
There's that right there, the bus.
Well, that I see.
Okay. All right. Let's get, does anybody have any more questions for the Kearnses? Okay, thank you. Guys, I would like to have some discussion with, amongst us, what your thoughts are. Mike, I'll start with you.
Works or not. I think if the site plan is going to be altered by any way from the road commission, I would like to see the road commission's report, and if they do require any kind of additional studies or not, just to know if there's a approval pending or whatever the case may be. If they come in and make adjustments to where the driveway has to be, if it's a double, if they can have 2 entrances or if it's just 1 entrance, how far they can go back, the egress, the turnaround, or whatever the case may be. I just think that there's too much outstanding with that aspect of it. I love the idea. I love the idea. I'm disappointed that it's taking attorneys and that there's 2 sides to it. I really don't feel like in any decision that there's going to be a winner. But such is life. But as far as moving forward, I would want to see how the road commission comes back and what their findings are.
Yeah, that's a good point, Michelle.
I know does the road commission need, like, our approval first before,
No.
okay.
But what they say could have great impact on the site plan.
Right,
It could.
okay.
And, you know, the way a bus turns around, way headlights point, way exhaust
Mhm.
point, anything like that could affect the neighbors, could affect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, from the beginning, we've recommended that any approval be conditioned upon that permit for the commercial driveway. However, if it's going to significantly change it, as you're alluding, then you would have to come back here all over again.
Right.
If the site plan were to have to be changed based on their response.
Okay, very good. Mike, what do you think about the conditional use? I know you weren't here last time, but I think you pretty much got the gist of it. Or if you want to move on and,
Yeah, I think I'll just reserve those thoughts for,
okay.
yeah, I think for me, it's just, I want to see what the road commission comes back with, before we move forward, just to make sure there's no
Okay.
heavy adjustments to the actual site plan. And then, I think after that, is weighed, and the commission gives their responses, then we can kind of come back and, at least in my opinion, then start talking, you know, conditional, of the different conditions as to different extents of
Okay.
people's concerns.
Sure. Kevin, what are your thoughts on the
I do
site
agree
plan
with-
conditional?
with Mike, the road permit is a big issue.
Yeah.
And, it will alternate if it's not approved. It's a great plan,
Yeah.
but that's my,
What
my
about,
thoughts on it as far as, I think it could be a little bit more extra screening.
okay. Bob? Do you have any commentary on the conditional use of the site plan?
I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what, Washington County says, right, with the road. And it's, I don't even go forward with it without knowing more.
Bart?
I'll just stick to the chart. It does need, I think, it needs to be something that we can use as a definition, you know. Up to the line, not a gray area of accuracy.
Huh.
I think most of that depends on the numbers. Actually, certainly, you know, chart is accurate, but not necessarily exact. Does that mean there's more education events, there's other farm market events, there's, you know, I think it's gotta be something that we can simply say these are, we've worked with other people doing conditional use,
Mhm.
they've come and self-restricted down to something that we felt was reasonable, and it became contractual, and this isn't enforceable contractual.
Correct. I would agree. And anything else on the site plan, or you're good with everything else?
My comment on the bus thing is, you know, schools, when they put in a bus lane, they have regulations that are to a safety standard.
Right.
You know, showing a turn radius, great, understand the bus can make the turn. Does the driver have visibility? And, you know, not that, you know, here we go. When I was 8 years old at Grange Elementary School back in New York, somewhere around that age, I watched the kids get squished. And you get in your school buses, I'm gonna use what, you get in your school buses and stuff like that. I'm the guy that stops 100 feet back from the school bus and puts my hazards in. You know, so seeing something that says, hey, what we're designing is meant to conform with our safety regulations and makes it as safe as possible for these little guys. You know. Oh, wait.
I have some comments and concerns with the intensity of the use of the property. I understand that the GAMPS is to protect the farms from the neighbors going around it, and to me, it seems like we're doing the opposite here. I think the intense use is significant. I think it seems like a lot of people, and there's still some ambiguity in here. I would like to see, instead of 1 hour to 2 hours, I would like to see 75 minutes. I would like to see, Sunday put in there that it's a rain date or something like that. I would like to see the maximum number of attendees. I think that's a lot of people to be in a neighborhood. I think this is an amazing idea, and it's what we're always promoting here in Salem Township. I just think the stickiest point is it seems to be in the wrong place. It's making it hard. It's making it hard for something we all want to see happen.
Where would you use it?
That's not my responsibility, nor is it my role. So if you could let me go through this, because I don't want you to feel like we don't want this. We do want these. This is exactly what we want. Look at everybody that said they had their kids come up and do these things. I take my kids to these things all the time. I want to see this stuff in Salem Township. It's just hard. I also wouldn't want to see it in my backyard either, or 75 feet from the back of my house. And so that's what makes it hard when you bring, we're trying to balance this commercial entity with the right to farm the agritourism being in. So you know what? Is it? No. I'm trying to explain how difficult this is for us. We're not trying to be hard on you. We just think when you have, I just think, and you guys, I wouldn't mind some feedback from you, what you think about the intensity. I've been to the Modena Drive, and I went to their backyard. Well, I went to the front door first to look and see the distance, to see for myself. I went over there. I've driven by there lots of times. I've driven down the road. I was probably in front of your house. You probably think I'm a stalker. I was not. I've driven down Walgreens many a times and counted the people that were out walking with their kids and their dogs and their strollers. I just think we need to be very careful with the intensity that we're bringing into the neighborhood. These people, it just seems to be excessive to me, and it still seems to be unclear. And I think we need to hold account with I think we need to limit the number of events. I think we need to, I disagree with an all year round type thing. I know we have other farms, but they're very limited to either the growing season or, it's only so many months. But this is an all-year-round operation that's happening in people's neighborhoods.
Question?
Yeah. Sure.
Are any of these things accessed through Walton? Everything's from home. There's not a single thing where anybody's coming in.
Staff. The staff comes in. And the catering.
Last year when we were here, we were told by the planning commission that the issue was that we were on a private road. And if we could get the traffic off the road, then, boy, we were for it. And so we got the traffic off the road. We are limiting the amount of activities. Like, I feel like there's this constant request for things, and we try to comply. We try to talk to people, and it's just like, I mean, it's okay if you're just going to say no, but then, like, we in 2024, after we didn't receive the permit because of the private road, which now is not the case, we canceled all of our events. All of our events, out of respect for the township. And we did not move forward and just go under right to farm. We came here, since December we have been here, we've been working with Paul, and so we are making a concerted effort as well. And it's not black or white. There are people who are totally fine with the intensity that we have. It's not, it is both. It's not, there's not one or, Dana Pop, who's building on Medina, is in tears that we're there. They're so excited that we're there. So, and there's people on Washington who are fine with it. So it isn't black or white. And I understand that has to be your decision, but I hope that you are also listening to the people who really value this in the community. And we do want to work with the neighbors. And all of these things that were shared tonight, none of it has happened. It is all imagined things that might happen. And we are willing to work with people, and we're willing to change the intensity. And that's why we put that chart together. And that is a binding chart. Like, I don't know what more I can give you that is more contractual than that without being false. And so if you want, but I feel like we're down to, I mean, we're facing, if you don't make a decision for us tonight, then that's our season. Like, that's our season again. And even though we've done all this work, we put all this time in, and then it's done again. And it's yeah. I mean, and that's
the point I wanted to make too is we are primarily a production farm. 70 to 80% of our revenue.
Okay, we're gonna.
No, please let me finish.
Okay, but but this is my time, and so I'm.
But you need to understand in the context you're talking about all this activity, and.
I'm not talking about all this activity. I'm talking about this activity. Yeah.
That activity that you're talking about is crucial.
I'm gonna take my time back here, because there's a couple things that were said that were untrue. First of all, with the road, you said is all you have to do. I don't remember telling anybody or anybody up here telling you need different access. We discussed that couldn't happen because of the road. We didn't tell you to go out and get something else, and that is not my role. I understand. Please. If I have to stop you again, I'm just going to ask you to leave.
All right, I apologize.
I completely understand what it's like to have a business and to take a loss and have to go through the hoops. I understand that. It's part of business. The reason this is taking so long is because we're trying to get it to make it to work for you. We're trying to find a balance that everybody can live with. We've heard people say that they're for you. Quite frankly, the percentage is not nearly as high as pro for you as against you. But what I did hear is they love the farm. They like you guys being there. They like you guys personally. It's just too much. And so it's when we've had the last place, where was it? It was in Brookville or somewhere, Bart.
Yeah.
You know, they had something so small and limited. Almost nobody even really knew it existed. I mean, I know you need more than that, probably, and you want more than that. But what all these people said when the previous owners had things going on, it wasn't intrusive, it wasn't invasive. And now, a lot of people, a good proportion of them, I'd say more than 50% of them, say it's too invasive and it's too intrusive. So those are the things that I'm looking at. And I think that we have within our rights to put restrictions on the number of events, the number of attendees, the duration of the season. And I think all those things are important when you bring a commercial entity into a neighborhood. I understand it's a farm.
We have been, all of us have been through there a dozen times. Bob has walked the whole property, everything on his, and it's not like we don't know what we're talking about or what we're doing. I mean, we've been there. We know. We have to take consideration from everybody. This is a hard thing here.
Yeah. So, Mike, did you have anything to add in hearing what we're talking, I know you missed the one event, but I think the chart needs to be more sincere. That's just, it has to be in writing, because everybody's up in arms and things tend to slide. We've seen that as a planning commission, right? Oh, we're just gonna park our trucks here. Oh, and now we've got a concrete crusher and all kinds of things. It always comes back.
Saying, oh, there's 40 acres.
Yes. And so the number of hours, the volume, the volume of traffic, that's kind of, we gotta wait to be seen, because that could change your whole site plan. So how does that work, Michelle? I mean, if we can't do the site plan, and we're kind of discussing the, we haven't come to any conclusions yet, for the conditional use. The chart is still kind of vague. We can't hold anybody to anything. So now it's delayed again, right?
If you're not in a position where the application feels like it can be approved because you need more information, or you need to have site plan approval first, then you could postpone action on the conditional use application.
So we could postpone on both of them?
You could.
Through the chair, if I could.
Yes, please.
Based on what I've heard here tonight, it'd be my recommendation that you do postpone this. Not that, and I know that's hard on the applicant, but for the benefit of everybody here, this is a very difficult decision, because we have such competing interests. The Kern have their interests they want, the neighbors have a totally opposing interest that they want. So this planning commission has to be extremely careful that what they do and what they approve, because no matter what decision they make, somebody's going to be very unhappy. So they have to walk through this in great detail and make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed. And that's a difficult position for these people to be in.
We never want to hold up anybody's business. We've never done that before. We've always tried to help. What do you think, Bob?
Well, I just think that, walking the property, the neighbors on the west side are gonna want more screening, whether it's fence and berms and shrubs. I think on the Pontiac Trail property, you're gonna need some screening on the south side. You're gonna need something on that north side with the ponds and the trees that were removed. So, Pontiac Trail property, south and north, gotta have some good screening. And you need longer screening, like the neighbor said, 750 feet, whether it's fencing, combination of fencing and berms and shrubs, whatever, you want 750 feet. So I think, I'm all for the project really, but I think there's gotta be just a little more screening. That's my thoughts.
I think we need to put some sort of maximum number on the people. I think you need to address the porta potty issue, if there's not going to be anything of that there. I think we need to include the no alcohol in there. Did I miss anything? And the chart.
Yeah, I mean, if
I also disagree with the intensity and the all year round. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, in the wintertime, it's only, what, once a month? Is that what it is, once a month?
But the reason I'm saying that is that the neighborhood never seems to get a break from the people. I mean, they...
The winter education program? Wintertime, there's not many people out. Once a month?
They don't have anything, that's just my opinion. I mean, there's gonna be 7 people up here voting, so.
So when you said once a month, the winter program, you're talking just the winter education program? Yes. Okay, so 5 sessions per year.
5 sessions, yeah.
How long is the session? One per month. One what? One class that's 5 days long that goes from 8 to 5 p.m.? I don't know.
There are no hours on it?
Yeah, there's nothing.
It says one per month.
How long does it last?
One per week, but five.
Okay, one per month, one month, one session.
One session per month.
Is that a meeting?
Meeting, session, what do you want to call it? It's once
Okay,
a month.
Kevin, let's,
I would talk to them. And these things come in,
There's really nothing there.
I mean, these things come in from here, I would talk to them.
postpone. Okay, okay. Kevin,
Bart's good.
Define good.
ready?
I propose on the site plan that we make a motion to postpone action on the minor site plan application for Cardinal Farms and parcel A-01-06-100-28 and parcel A-01-06-100-007, and to direct the applicant to address the outstanding items identified in the planner's review on the site plan dated May
It's the road
15th.
commission permit.
Also, on the site plan with the road commission permit
Response.
response. Each one is separate.
Yep, okay, and so then we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote. Please respond with aye, if approved. Nay if, you don't approve. Ken? Con? Frost?
Aye.
Huntsman? Aye. Lewandowski is absent. McLaughlin is absent. Merlot?
Aye.
And Rizzo?
On the conditional use permit, make a motion to postpone action on conditional use permit applicant for Cardinal Farms on parcels A-01-06-100-028 and parcels A-01-06-100-007 until such time as the site plan is approved.
Roll call vote, please.
May I interject?
Oh, sure.
Are there any conditional use specific requests that you want to make to the applicant as part of the motion? Because you can, and direct the applicant to, since you've been discussing the chart
Right.
and the screening, this would be the time
Okay,
to direct the applicant to
okay,
provide those details.
okay, so, so if he's gonna finish, so we're making the motion to postpone action on the conditional use, until the site plan is approved. And so then we discussed,
But there's also the conditional use specific concerns that you have
yes,
that you want to direct the applicant to address.
okay, hold on. Let me write them down, because otherwise I'm making the motion. So we discussed intensity, chart, screening, no alcohol. Yep. I guess this is for things for them to work on. Michelle, in regards to the chart, do I list all of those? Do you have them? Can I give them to you? How do you want me to?
If the
Because we have to say it in a
goal is
motion, so.
if the goal is to enact limits,
The goal is to postpone it until
right.
some of these things are addressed.
But for the chart, like just to give them very clear direction.
Okay.
The idea is to remove
limits.
ambiguity that has been pointed out during the meeting, and enact actual caps rather than estimated ranges. If I'm
Correct.
right, and then you could just say as discussed at this meeting instead of going into each line item within the motion.
Okay. Length, hours, and attendees.
Can I ask you a question about
Attendees. Okay. So these are the things, this is in clarifying the chart. Those are the things we talked about.
Until such time as site plan is approved, intensity, clarifying the chart,
And fix what those are.
exact limits, caps on attendees, specified length of time in hours on chart, no alcohol, address screening.
Okay.
And
Think we
More
got-
specificity on addressing screening.
Yes.
and driveway.
We'll work that out.
That's gonna be on site plan.
And driveways on the side, yep. Okay. Okay. It was a kind of a messy one. Yeah, that's in the site plan, and then we also included the road commission report in here. So if you want to try and take a roll call on that. It's to postpone action on the conditional use permit.
All right, we're gonna do a roll call to postpone action.
Sorry.
With the
May I interject?
Sure.
The landscape screening, is it to comply with the zoning ordinance or to go beyond, just to give them clear direction? Because
Yes.
I'm confused.
It is to give additional screening.
What does that mean?
Looking at
They're gonna keep addressing these points and coming back and kind of getting the commission back, and we just need specific direction on what the commission wants.
So one of the things we talked about, Michelle, was they had those small things, the small plants, the arborvitaes, that were spaced out 3.5 feet tall by the most intense driving action for the driveway there. And then there was that,
West side.
the west side. We're looking for more additional screening.
So both the north and south sides that are in the front yard of the Pontiac Trail parcel, is that right? And then the west property boundary of the Waldine parcel? Is that what y'all are looking at?
That's what you were talking about?
Okay.
It doesn't have to be all fencing, it could be a combination of screening.
Any other areas for landscaping? This is crystal clear, thank you.
No, I don't think so. We get it all?
When it comes to maintenance of this.
Should we take,
Okay, yeah.
Is that better? No?
Because, for instance, like with the arborvitae, like you're saying, that's not okay, but you're not telling us what you want. So I can come back with you with a...
Want more screening.
I know, but that's
what
not,
does that
that's
mean?
not exactly...
That means to protect so the people whose driveway is 75 feet from the back of their house to your driveway, there's more screening. There's less visibility.
What is more to you? I have to, that's the problem, what's more to them and what's more to you and what's more in the zoning ordinances. I can't...
So Michelle, how do we say that when you put a small plant and it doesn't grow until the end of the season, do you put them in as a bigger plant? Do you
Yes.
put some specific height requirements?
You could do specific height requirements or specific opacity requirements or both.
Adequate.
Okay, so
You know what you want.
What did he mention? What did you say, that tree that grew or whatever?
Green giant, arborvitae.
And you wanna give it a tree or something else? Would be
I don't want to give people that grow things a specific tree. I want them to do it. I just want them to screen the tree. My issue, Michelle, is it's they've got a plant that's going to be this tall for a season. So I don't.
So there could be a minimum height that's taller than 2 feet.
I guess the opacity is what we're talking about, right?
Right.
Make it.
So you could say, I mean, because they're looking for specifics, so you could say 80% opacity, minimum height 4 feet on those specific areas that are what's already stated within the motion. That's just an example. And that's the type of language that we already use in the zoning
We're supposed to be
ordinance.
done at 10 o'clock too, unless we make a motion to extend. So now we're getting outside of our stuff here.
3 feet apart for the arborvitae is just not a great deal. They won't necessarily fill in enough to make it a...
Yeah, and if they were planted, they'd had time to grow, so. But then they're gonna get so big, they're gonna be all smushed, so. Do you put opacity, right? Does that seem normal? Is that standard?
Yeah, I just think 3 feet apart is not really close. It's gonna...
So how do you word that, Michelle?
Well, if you want them to be spaced farther apart, you could indicate that as well, at a taller specific height and 80% opacity or 100% opacity. 80% makes more sense.
I personally wouldn't care if they used a redwood at 100 feet apart or, bamboo at 3 inches apart. So just state opacity, let them decide what they want to do and get something like, you don't want to be able to stand in the yard and see it, right?
Right.
It's all flat. I mean, we're not dealing with...
They wanna stand on their deck and they're gonna be watching cars go in and out and everybody there, it's just kinda.
So minimum height of 4 feet, 100% opacity. You could say that.
Does that make sense to you guys? 4 feet, 5 feet, I don't know.
And it's that planting.
It's that planting. But I mean, if they, and they wanna do something all year round, I mean, how long are these people supposed to wait? So.
If the applicant comes back with a recommendation, we can certainly consider it next time, and then if we do make an approval for conditioning or a conditional zoning next time, we can take that initial recommendation that they brought back and we can amend it, correct?
You could absolutely approve something with a condition that is discussed and agreed upon in that same meeting.
At that time?
Yes.
Okay, so they can come back with what they think is reasonable, and we can sit here and agree if that's reasonable, and then we can all move forward together.
And if it's not reasonable, you can sit there and discuss what is reasonable and approve with that condition.
Correct.
So you don't have to feel pressure to decide this right now. We are giving them direction, which they can then...
80%, and it 4 feet is really just only this tall, so it probably should be taller.
And I just, I like to just, second the comments, even the sentiment, of our attorney that this is a difficult conversation, because I think we all support and love the idea. Just conceptually, there's so much to consider on both sides, and we're just trying to find that common ground where we do have two winners, and we don't have to make one person a winner and one person a loser. So, at least that's my heart. I think we can speak for the rest of us here too. So, I think if you bring something, if the applicant were to bring something to us that's reasonable, that we could certainly have a conversation about it. And if we chose to, at that time, we could amend it.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I think that's good.
Okay.
Go ahead, Michelle.
This thing is open to offense, right?
You know what, well, let's, no, it's not. Right, but we have to either make another motion or finish this.
Let's finish it.
Okay.
Let's just finish
Yes,
it.
let's just finish this, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh,
You got it?
yeah, I've typed down what you said, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now are we going to do the roll call vote?
Can I just have a clarification about
Yes.
the chart, since we have to fill it out? If you're gonna limit the intensity, can you just direct that to us? Because I can fill out the chart again, but then if you feel the intensity is too great already, why doesn't the commission just tell us what's allowed?
Because we're postponing the whole thing right now. I think.
I mean, I can bring back what I have, but I'm trying to
Yeah.
get direction from you as far as the chart goes, so.
Sure, okay, we need to do something with this time, so, let's.
I'd say that you've provided a lot of direction, and you can feel comfortable making a motion.
Oh, okay.
And voting on it.
So, just to answer your question, I think there are too many people, like I said, I think all year long is too much. I think there's too many people, and there's too much activity. The attendees are too high. 7 hours, I think, is too long for something to go on.
For the farm market?
No, for the farm camps.
Okay.
It says 7 hours, 3 days a week, 7 hours.
Okay.
And I'll be glad to talk more, but that's just one opinion. Okay. Go ahead. This is for the postponed, it's a postponed action. And those are he already stated all that. I know it's probably gonna be hard to find in the recording. Michelle's got it all.
All right.
Oh.
Roll call vote for the postponed actions. Khan. Frost.
Yes.
Huntsman. Yes. Lewandowski. Absent. McLaughlin. Absent. Merlot.
Yes.
Rizzo.
Okay. Yes, we do need to make a motion to extend.
Make a motion to table the discussion, USDA update discussion.
So Michelle, how do we go about that? We're going to, I think we need to make a motion to extend it probably another 15 minutes, the max. So do you want to do that?
I make a motion to extend another 15 minutes for the USD update
So we're just going to
discussion.
extend the whole meeting
Oh, extend the whole meeting then.
for maximum 15 minutes. Okay.
Sorry, I'm butchering everything.
Okay.
I
And
second.
Second,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, all those in favor of extending the meeting, till 10:30 for another 15 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, the meeting extended. Okay. Do you want to make a, old business items, USD update? Kevin, do you want to make a motion to postpone that? We're going to postpone it. We don't want to table it, right? Right. We're going to postpone it.
She's referencing the USD update conversation.
So you want to extend the meeting, but also not do that?
Correct. That's a beast. We'll never get to it.
I mean, sure, yeah. You could
Okay.
table it, and then you'll have to talk about it at the next meeting.
We're going to postpone it.
Okay.
I make a motion to postpone the USD update discussion
Until later date.
till later date.
I'll second. Huntsman.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of, postponing the USD update discussion until a later date, say aye. Aye. You good, Bart? Aye, okay. Against? No, okay. I know. Reports of commissioners and correspondence, Board of Trustees, she's absent, vote ZBA, he's absent, Land Preservation. Bruce, do you have anything?
Our meeting is good tomorrow night. We're still moving forward on, very slowly on, copies of those minutes.
Oh, cool. Okay, planning consultant review, anything?
You're in for a great USD update discussion at the next meeting.
Awesome. Okay, approval of the minutes of April 21st, 2025.
I second it.
Do we have a motion to approve them first? No.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of April 21st, 2025.
We have a second?
That's no second.
Okay. Public comment. What? Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. All those in favor of approving the minutes of April 21st, 2025, say aye. Didn't I just do that? Aye. Opposed? None? Okay. The minutes pass. Public comment.
I just had a question about the screening and the fencing. The far north side of Cardinal Farms property where the thicket is, where our property is like that. I didn't hear anything as far as screening, bushing, fencing on the back side. There is a thicket back there. And a lot of that falls on their property. But if it's not clearly said, they could come back and mow that for additional room, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm back wide open. And the point I'm trying to make here, again, I know I have a problem, but the problem I have is I don't want people wandering from my property. And that, the thicket is there, and, you know, the problem with that thicket right now is there's a lot of trees that are falling. There's a lot of, I mean, that's been 40 years of growth back there. There's Dutch elms, there's uprooted trees that wind is taking down, there's open holes back there. Somebody goes through that, they're gonna get hurt, guaranteed.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a point. We worry about people wandering around. Screening is not fencing. Screening is opacity. It's not security.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, a couple of you have mentioned that you have come out to take a look at the Pontiac Trail home that's occurred, purchased as well as Moderna Farms and Walton. However, you guys didn't come out on our property at Pontiac Trail as well to kind of see from our standpoint with our property and our pond and the open area where the trees weren't removed up front. We do have this period of open land there that traffic easily to slip through, wandering, that type of thing. So I would like to invite either all of you to come out and take a look. Let us know when you're available, and we'd like to also make sure that we're available to walk you through our side of the property and how it overlooks the whole length of your property.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'd just like to say I understand about the, the site plan has to change and really make a contact out of this. I believe what's happening here with this kind of discussion is an ideal world. So where we live, we had a single woman living next to us. She had all kinds of trees. Next people moved in, they took down the trees, that's their right. I looked at something different. I have another person who has a barn, and on my side of the barn, they put junk. That's what happens. They actually have a right to have all kinds of junk all over their property, broken down things. Somebody else could move into one of these houses and have parties all the time. Graduation parties, bonfires, loud. This is not your job to protect them from that. I'm just trying to tell you that. That's not, I mean, yes, would we like to be able to do that? But we can't do that. I have a little cabin in the back of my property, and it was up against wood. Guess what? It wasn't all my wood. They knocked it down. They put a horse farm there. They put their pile of manure right on my property. That happens. That happens. I'm sorry it happened to me. It happened to me. It's okay. That's just part of living in a community that's growing and prospering, and people have their property, and different people move in and they change their mind. And I wish that we could protect that, but that's not our job to protect that. Thank you.
Yes, I just respectfully ask that, in the interim, on behalf of everybody here, now we have recordings from multiple meetings and clear suggestions that we can come to the conclusion and highlight that clearly and request that to Rich and Cindy to come out with a clear agreement so that they can accommodate that, or we just have that agreement in place before we have another meeting that lasts 4.5 hours. We're kind of covering the same issue. And I think everyone wants a clear answer here. If we can just outline every single clear issue, Rich and Cindy are willing to do most of it. And, some of the issues here, might fall on the neighbors to do it themselves. Maybe some of the issues are for them. So if we can just come to that agreement in the interim before the next meeting, I respectfully ask that, so we can have a decision. We've had to get a babysitter each time to support our friends and farm, money out of our own pocket, and just respectfully ask that. Thank you.
Yeah, with respect for everyone's time, I know it's 10:30, I just want to kind of reiterate that, I do not agree that we can completely divorce the calculus decision of the deed restriction with the zoning. What we're doing here right now and what we're chartered to do is the first provision of the deed restriction mentions zoning. So I think it's premature to have another meeting until such time that court case has been resolved. I think that it's not only access to the road, but single-family use is mentioned in the deed restriction. There's many interpretations, and I don't think, I think that if this body right now is to make a determination, it would also be borderline, if not direct interference with the private contract that's currently in litigation, where both parties are spending tens of thousands of dollars to arbitrate, or to litigate, sorry. I just think it's premature, because they don't have the access to Walgian Road. I know they say they don't, but staff is making money, making a profit to go down there. And the other thing I don't think the board has been made aware of before is the level of difficulty that was, gone through by myself. In 2015, I moved in and the road was falling apart. We had the northerners and the southerners that were fighting like we were down south again on just, whether it was per acre, per linear foot, per whatever. And we finally got the road done, and now this blows up. And there are material damages that will happen if this is approved, because we will not be able to maintain that road. Nobody up north or to the south is going to do it. There's a private business, commercial entity there profiting from their use of that road. And there's no way to correct it, because you can't encumber a property, unless it's a title change, and you're not going to get 19 homes to agree on whether it's raining today. Thank you.
You just heard this neighborhood people fight about everything. They have their opinions about everything. There is no way to make these 18 houses plus the Moderna farms or whatever, plus Hazel Street, plus everyone else around us. Life is risk when you decide every day to go on a walk. When I would decide to go on a walk during pickup on Thursdays when traffic was actually coming to Walgreens, I'm making a decision for me and my family, weighing the risk. If you want to turn left onto a road that's 50 miles per hour, that's a choice you can make. Like, you do not have to do those things.
If you would like to live somewhere where there's a 50-mile-per-hour turn on the left, that sounds like a personal choice. All of these things, you can go other places and move in other houses, okay, if you do not like your neighborhood. I love my neighborhood, everything going on in my neighborhood, I'll stay, but it sounds like a lot of you should maybe consider going. And also to witness all of these meetings with, I can't even believe it that there's no clear ending. Again, it sounded to me, and again, I'm not on any boards, I'm not on a commission, but it sounded like you guys could have also made conditions. You're sitting there, oh, like you could make a condition for this, a condition and this. No, let's postpone and let the farm again have another, not be able to operate this season. That doesn't make any sense. You're looking at something that's very time sensitive. So make some conditions for them that make sense. And it's not like my husband said, like what Cindy just tried to say, that got cut off. But she would like, okay, so you think 7 hours for a farm camp and I don't know, I'm not a farmer either, but for teenagers to go for a whole day and learn how to work on a farm, that 7 hours is too long, I don't know that is like up for someone who's not a farmer running a farm camp with a plan to stay. So I think if that's a problem for the board, maybe say, I think 5 hours sounds more reasonable. Okay, then that's at least frameworks that they could use to next time not have to come in and get postponed again. And that's the direction it's looking like it's heading in.
Hi, I live next door. I work for South London Schools. They said, oh, I don't like kids. No, I deal with kids hours every day. I don't want to listen to them. I deal with them every day. 7 hours is a long time. And it's just, we want peace and quiet. That's why we moved there. I have over 10 acres. Do I do this to my neighbors? No. Did they ever come to any of us? No. Zero. No one.
I think your point about intensity is well taken, and I applaud your application of that. And I think it's reasonable to suggest, and again, a lot of us feel that it's a good thing to do, it's just the intensity and where it's done, that's all. And that's boiled down. Somebody broke it down, and that, I agree with that.
Okay. Paul, did you have something different?
Yes, one of the things,
We've got, I need to get done, you've got 16 seconds.
okay, they moved in with deed restrictions. When they bought that house, there was a clear-cut deed restriction saying what you could and couldn't do. We live in trailers, there's no blight in your yards because of that deed restriction. They signed that deed restriction on day one when they bought that house. They knew what they were buying. Now they're trying to change the meaning of deed restriction. That's the problem. You don't have trailers in your yards on mulching because of us. We stepped up and we created that protective covenant. Why trash is in your yard, the original gentleman wanted to put 800 or 500-foot trailers that were dilapidated, falling apart. He said, I'm not going to live here, I'm out of here. We fought for that deed restriction. They bought that property knowing what it was when they walked in the front door. This is nothing new. They bought it knowing it, and now they're trying to change it. Simple as that.
All right. Michelle, do you want to public comment before we move on? Okay. All right. What's that?
It's over 10:30, it's over 10:30.
Yeah, it's over at 10:30. Okay, so my chairperson comment is, screening is screening. If they're required to do screening, it has to stay. If they take it down, they have to clear it up. I don't see that as an issue. And as far as junk, we have ordinances for that. As far as a clear outline, I didn't want to make somebody else's plan. We talked about it and of the intensity. We can make specifics for people. I guess we could. I was just kind of hoping that it would come from the applicant. But there's still a lot of ambiguity on the chart. I'm not sure how that got through. And that's my comment. We're just up here trying to, as citizens, this is not our regular career. We're just up here trying to do the best we can to try to make things work for you guys. We've all been very civil. We appreciate it. We've all been very patient. We appreciate it. We're not expert planning solicitors. There's no such thing, because you know what? Nobody wants our jobs, right? So we're just doing our best, but I think the most important thing is we're really trying to listen to you and accommodate and make that balance happen. So thank you very much. We're adjourned at 10:31.